Hey HBs, this is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two friends recap love stories with happy endings while making jokes and loving on each other. We've got to get this show started with a Patreon shout out, because we could not do this without our amazing patrons. Brianna R., you are Aklut, a spirit that takes the form of both a majestic orca whale and a large mythical wolf. You are the queen of the North Sea and the tundra, sometimes shifting back and forth, sometimes just walking around like a badass killer whale with wolf legs, or a wolf sporting a pretty fancy whale fin. The Aklut is a fierce and cunning beast, and no one wants to get in your way. Legend has it that you were once a person who loved the sea and wanted to live in the ocean full time, but also wanted revenge on some people. So you decided to become a whale and a wolf, so you could swim around most of the time, but also come on shore and murder all your enemies. You just decided to do that, to be a whale-wolf shifter. And then you did. It just shows you that if you try hard and believe in yourself, anything can happen, Brianna. If you're interested in our Patreon shoutouts or any of the other benefits, visit patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms podcast. Oh, and if you're a newer listener and you always wanted to know what our very, very first episode was all about, we just posted that on our Patreon feed for your listening pleasure. Or not so pleasure. The sound quality has definitely improved. Today, we've got a very special episode for you. Aaron joined Cole on his show, The Cigarette Burns Podcast, to recap the American president, and you get to hear that here. So, without further ado, here's your two faves, Aaron and Cole.
So, do you remember those Disney's like movies of the week, movies
Yes.
of the month, or whatever they did?
Yes,
Okay.
Brink, Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
Brink. They wanted that Brink kid to be like the most famous actor in
I'm
Hollywood.
sorry,
They
Erik
used-
von Detten? Is that the actor we're talking about? I just named him, so...
Yeah, Erik von Detten. Wasn't he in the first Princess Diaries? And is that when Disney was like, fuck this guy?
Was he the first? No, that... No, yeah. He was the bad one. He was like
That's
the
what I
hot
thought.
one that she couldn't pop her foot for.
Right. Yeah. Obviously.
And then there was the good one who put the M&Ms on the pizza. But more importantly, in the second Princess Diaries, we have the true hero. Are you aware?
I'm assuming Chris Pine, even though I have not seen.
Oh, that's
the second
Chris
one.
Pine doing the worst
Yeah.
accent you've ever heard in your life, and it doesn't matter.
So, I watched Smokin' Aces like a week, 2 weeks ago, whatever. I hadn't seen it forever because it's not a good movie, and you shouldn't have to worry about it.
I was gonna say, I've never heard anyone be like, I haven't seen Smokin' Aces in forever. Better turn that on.
I completely forgot how many people were in that movie, including
Yes.
a very young white
Yes.
supremacist Chris Pine.
Yeah. Yes, it is one flavor of Chris Pine. It's not my favorite flavor, but it's one of them.
And usually I try to text you about Chris Pine in the realm of giving him shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to find like a gif of how ridiculous he was. And would it shock you to know that there are no Chris Pine is ugly gifs?
No. Mm-mm. No.
Yeah,
There's
that
one of
doesn't
Chris
exist.
Pine eating a sandwich. That's about the closest you get. I'm very learned on the Chris Pine gifts. Anyway, what were you talking about? We're talking about Erik von Detten. Am I supposed to say his name? What's going on? What's happening?
No, don't worry about Erik von Detten.
No.
By the way, Erik, if you're listening, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're still rollerblading
Come on
and
the
all
pod.
that shit. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have you.
Well, he's a soul skater, so he is still rollerblading. Was it rollerblading or was it skateboarding? There were ramps.
No, in Brink, I'm pretty sure it was rollerblading.
Was it? God,
Yeah.
that was a rollerblading movie?
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to give too much shit to the rollerblading because I did play street hockey after I saw D2.
Did you? Because I feel like I was around at this time in your life, and I do not remember a street hockey phase.
Oh, yeah. No. There was a big street hockey, underground in St. Andrews neighborhood. So we always got
Is
really
the neighborhood
mad when
you're referring to Country Club Estates? Because that's the neighborhood you grew up in.
Yes,
Don't call it the St. Andrews neighborhood. Like, that's what it's called. It's called Country Club Estates, and there wasn't street hockey in it.
There was street hockey on St. Andrews Drive.
Oh,
that's what I meant. Like, there's different neighborhoods within the estates now. Come on.
What actor are we talking about? What's going on? You guys guess the actor we're talking about. It could be literally anyone because we haven't talked about it.
It's not Erik von Detten. I know that.
Is it Camilla Bell?
So, anyway, the movie I was going to talk about was Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken.
Oh, man. I was really hoping it was that surfing one with Camilla Bell.
No, hard pass.
I fucking love Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. I love that movie.
Shut the fuck up.
Yes.
There's no way you've seen this movie.
I loved that movie. The main character's name is Sonora Webster. I remember that because when she introduces herself to the hot guy, she says her name is Sonora Webster. And it's a stupid name, and that's how I remember it. I used to play Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken with Barbies, where I would put a Barbie in, like, the shittiest, raggiest dress that I cut a Barbie's hair to be short, like her in the movie. And then I would put it on a horse, and then I would throw it down my stairs. And that's how I would play. I was an only child.
I'm assuming that your mom was not like, feel free to put an inflatable pool at the bottom of the stairs?
No, there was no water involved. She broke every bone and went blind every time.
You didn't even turn the Barbie's head?
Actually, I probably did, to be completely honest with you.
That seems like an Aaron move.
This movie is about a girl who works for a circus and jumps horses off of a high dive diving board into a pool of water, and you have to turn your head at the last moment so you don't go blind, and spoilers, she goes blind. There's also a great scene where she jumps on the horse from, like, the side of the ring where the horses run around, and she's got to get on it.
Drawing it with your finger.
Yeah, I'm doing it. You guys see what I'm doing? It's like I'm putting a circle in the air, and, like, the hot guy wants her to get on the horse, and then he's like, you can't, you're punishing yourself too much, and she's like, no, I have dreams. What were we talking about? It's a great movie.
Apparently, we turned this into the Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken episode.
Yeah, let's do that. What movie are we even doing today? Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken.
We'll get there. I just want to get you, because I had no idea that you would have even seen this movie. It's crazy to me that that's possible. Because
I want to know who the guy was. I totally forget.
I had the biggest crush on her. I'm looking it up for you. It's Michael Scheffling.
Yep, that's why I don't know who it is, because he's not a person who's in things after that. He was hot, though, you guys.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So, anyway, I saw her, and I was like, A, huge crush, and B, I loved the movie, which I can't imagine. I think I've only seen it once. Like, I can't imagine sitting through it now.
I can't imagine only seeing it once, to be completely...
It's so... But I do remember thinking, like, oh, she was in that, and then she showed up, had a big 93 with Three Musketeers, which I'm a huge, like, anything Three Musketeers...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even that shitty Logan Lerman one, I watched that.
She was the queen that was married to the sickly king, right?
Yep.
And
she made him a man, but with
I remember that.
Disney.
There was definitely an undercurrent, like the king is gay, like that was a plot in that movie, was it not? Okay, yeah,
yes.
yeah,
100%. And like Tim Curry was playing off of that to be like, I'm gonna get with the queen because like she needs a man.
Oh, right. Yeah, Tim Curry.
Actually, really good movie. Dark Kiefer Sutherland, like way too dark for a Disney Three Musketeers movie. Really interesting casting choice.
Is there a light Kiefer Sutherland? Now think about this. I know what you're thinking. You're like, he's been in light things. Designated Survivor. Other things that I'm sure he's been in that are light. There is no light Kiefer Sutherland. He's all dark all the time, always.
The best part of that movie is dark that Kiefer. Disney, you know, soft edges, family Disney was like, here's what we need in our Three Musketeers movie. We need Kiefer Sutherland, obviously.
Obs.
We need Rebecca De Mornay's bust.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that dress was hanging on for dear life.
Yes.
And then if we could get, I mean, I hear Charlie Sheen's a good guy. Maybe we could get him. Maybe he could play Aramis, because Aramis is like a priest.
Yeah.
And that's, if we could get Charlie Sheen, I think this would all come together.
This is all going to work out. Which one? Was it Kiefer that was supposed to be like the hot one? He was the hot one, right?
Well, I mean, D'Artagnan's the young one, so that's Chris O'Donnell.
Sure. But like of the three, I feel like Kiefer was supposed to be the sexy one.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess he's the one.
You're like, I was 12. I don't fucking know which guy was supposed to be the sexy.
My choices were
Oliver
drunk
Platt.
Kiefer Sutherland, my hero Oliver Platt, and of probably getting ready to go to rehab for the third time, Charlie Sheen. Like I fucked up everything after Wall Street, so now I'm doing a Disney movie, Charlie Sheen, that guy. So anyway, she's in that. She's in For Love or Money, which if you haven't checked that out, that's a really good romantic comedy with Michael J. Fox. Love that movie. And then like I never saw her again.
That's bullshit. She was in the Tudors. She was a queen, one of those Tudor. I don't know who she was, but she was one of those Tudors. I don't know what the part she played.
She was in the Tudors. I think she dies quickly, but she was in the Tudors. And I just kind of always expected her, after having like a leading role in what I thought was a well-received romantic comedy, like, oh, she could do the rom-com thing. She's got that look of like a leading actress, and it just didn't happen. And then I saw her in Burn Notice.
I didn't see Burn Notice.
Yeah, I definitely fell in love with that show for a while. Still haven't seen the last season, but she was the girl in that. That was her, she had a co-lead in that, but it just kind of never worked out. And I'm like, I can't figure it out. And I guess I just have to blame Craig Sheffer, because she did marry Craig Sheffer.
Put that on a resume.
Which I think permanently cements you to the 90s.
Yeah.
If you have any connection to Craig Sheffer, they're like, we can't. I'm sorry.
You're too close.
It's always 1996.
Too close to the sun. We're sorry.
We can only give one of you a part on One Tree Hill. I'm sorry. It's the best we can do. So anyway, hey guys, it's Cole. This is another episode of Cigarette Burns, but you probably noticed that the voice with me today is not Jed. So fan favorite Erin is back with us. What's up?
Me, Erin. Not much.
Welcome
Talking
back.
about movies, my friend. Thanks. I'm glad to be back.
Well, is
the introduction part over now? Let's do this.
I didn't realize we were going to do 4 minutes on Erik von Detten. So yeah, I guess the intro is over.
You bring up Erik von Detten or Devon Sawa, we're doing 4 minutes. So I'm sorry.
Devon Sawa earns it.
Careful what landmines you step on.
This will not be the last time we talk about Devon Sawa today, so don't worry. He's on my notes.
What?
Don't worry. We'll get there.
Did you cast him in the 2019 version of The American President?
No.
That's me dropping my legal pad because I clearly didn't do as good of job as you.
So you just heard we're going to talk about The American President today. So strap in. It's going to be a long one. But yeah, I just want to say...
limited series.
That
it's episode 1.
This is, for its flaws, and it definitely has flaws, is just like one of the most rewatchable... I'm sorry, Erin is just scowling at me.
I didn't see any flaws. I just watched it last night.
I did too. There were a couple things that I was like, I could, maybe do without, but it's like the most rewatchable movie in the world.
It's so rewatchable, and you'll find that I assume everyone out there has seen it at least 5 times or so. If you watch it again, if you decide to queue that up, $3.99 Apple rental tonight, you're going to realize, no.
What?
I feel like I don't own anything anymore because I'm going to have to watch it how many times, like to own it, it costs like $16 or whatever. So I'm going to have to watch it 4 times
you don't think you
to make good on that.
You don't think you can get a $2 DVD on eBay that takes 45 days to get delivered up to Alaska?
Right. I just rent everything that I want to watch. And that's probably not the most economical way to do it, but it's just, that's how, listen. Here's what I'm saying. If you watch it tonight, you're going to find out you still have this movie memorized.
That's true.
Because I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen this movie in like 2-3 years. I still have it memorized.
So I want to ask you a question because I was doing some research and this fucking thing blew me away.
Yes.
You just used the mute button to cough. That is so thoughtful of you.
Professional.
So
it's me.
There were a couple of things that fucking blew my mind, but this one probably the most was the budget on the movie was $62 million.
Yes.
How much money do you think this made at the box office?
Are you suggesting it's low? I don't know. These are hard questions for me. I don't know the movie. I don't know the film business. I don't live in Hollywood like you.
I don't live in Hollywood. I do take the 10, but I don't live in Hollywood.
God, I don't know when you're going to put this out, but in the last episode you were like, why didn't Thelma and Louise just take the 10? I was like, geez, that's the most LA thing I've ever heard in my life. What were we talking about? the box office.
We have skipped over the part in the podcast where you just tell me everything we've been doing wrong. I don't know. Did you have?
Yeah, isn't that a segment we do at the beginning?
Yeah, this is Erin fixes
thing number
cigarette
one.
burns.
You did National Treasure without me. Did we talk about that last time I was on?
We did, so not over
Because
that
I think
yet.
we did.
Okay.
Not over it.
Got it.
What was I gonna? Oh yeah, I would say it made more than that at the box office, but not much more. That's what I'm gonna say.
So domestic, it made $60 million bucks.
I feel like that's low.
It did not. Yeah, it didn't make it money.
Low.
It blew my mind. Like it didn't make its money back domestically.
Yeah.
Worldwide, 107, which also blows my mind that it made
Really?
47 million worldwide.
Huh. Because none of those people are like global stars in a way that they're not American stars. I wonder if it's just curiosity about like the American president. I don't know. That's
This is
weird.
like, it's such a uniquely American movie that I'm like, how does this have global appeal? I don't get it. And I also don't get why it didn't make its money back here.
Yeah, that's weird. Because it's like one of the greatest movies of all time.
Oh my God. It is so good. Like last night, Jess and I were watching it. And it was late by the time we... happy birthday, by the way, sweetheart. I know this is going to come out a few weeks after your birthday. But anyway, we celebrated last night. And she's on the couch. And I was like, we're watching American President. Happy birthday. and she loves it.
This
and
is
she's
for
like,
you.
She's like, this is great. Thank you. But it was like 11 by the time we kick it on. And so she's sort of falling asleep on the couch. And I was like, oh, you know what? Let's just go upstairs. She's like, no. I just love listening to it. Just loved hearing the American President, which, when you think about it, makes sense because the music is phenomenal.
The music is really good. You know what? I didn't check. Who did the music for this?
Mark Shaman.
Mm-hmm. The music is like, there are shots, especially when things are not going well for everybody. There are shots where it's like just the music and like a door for like 5 seconds. And like the dialogue is the music.
No, the music is phenomenal. And I just love that she was like, no, I just like hearing it. Like and it is one of those movies that I've seen so many times. Like, I don't know how many times you've seen it. I've probably seen it 50 at least.
I'm over 20, but I don't watch movies like you do. I don't have things in the background, so I have to actually watch. It is a movie that has like a cadence to it, so it is kind of soothing to listen to because it is like all Aaron Sorkin things have a cadence to them, but it is like a soothing, like people are smart and competent and like there's good music in the background. It's a uplifting, hopeful cadence to it.
Yeah.
So even if you're not truly listening, it kind of puts you in a good mood.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was getting ready to sort of bring up Sorkin and how important music is to everything he's ever written, just because the dialogue flows with it so perfectly. So before we get into what actually happens, I want to talk about the cast and crew because it's like a murderer's row of 90s greatness. You had Rob Reiner, and before we go any further, I just want to read you his 84 to 94. This is Spinal Tap,
Good.
The Sure Thing, Stand By Me.
I forgot he did that.
The Princess Bride.
That's a good movie. Popular.
When Harry Met Sally.
Also a popular one.
Misery.
Yes.
A Few Good Men. North, the worst Elijah Wood movie ever.
Poof, that's a tall order. The worst Elijah Wood movie ever. Let me think on that a little bit. Keep going.
You give that some thought. And then The American President. Like, that's a ridiculous run.
There's a fair number of popular good movies in that list.
It's like to have that run and North is the one total misfire.
Yeah.
Because it's a really shitty movie. Guys, don't go see that. Okay?
Go see North.
Don't waste your time. Watch this twice. So he does all of that. And, he obviously meets Aaron Sorkin on A Few Good Men. And I think because of everything Aaron Sorkin has done and sort of meant to TV and movies and screenwriting over the last 15 years, I kind of forgot this was like his infancy of screenwriting. This is his second written by.
I mean, he's still riding the wave of A Few Good Men, but he's real new.
Yeah, he did A Few Good Men. He did just a treatment on Malice, and then he wrote this.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems so in his pocket, and he seems so comfortable writing the script, because this doesn't seem like a strained script to me. Sometimes you get that, Chris McQuarrie, I think this happened to when he did The Way of the Gun, which I think is a better movie than people give it credit for. But I feel the strain of it trying to match like Usual Suspects.
Right.
I don't get that strain in this screenplay.
No, this is like clearly him in his comfort zone. And I would posit, of Aaron Sorkin movies and television shows, the least sexist, which I appreciate as a female woman. I'm not saying it's not at all sexist. I'm saying it is the least sexist Aaron Sorkin.
I was I was wondering how long, because I did want to talk to you about this. We're 20 minutes in. That's about right. I wanted to talk to you about this because Aaron Sorkin's is my favorite modern writer, just because I'm a bit of an optimist, which I know might surprise some folks, but like I love the optimism that he writes with around kind of all the topics that he's been involved with, whether it's politics, which is a very popular one. He loves sports, and like Moneyball is a very optimistic film.
Oh, I forgot about Moneyball.
That's such a good movie.
Yeah.
I just love that feeling, particularly like, I mean, it's going to be hard to avoid modern politics while we're talking about this film.
Yes.
But
because it is a movie that's heart is about gun control. It's a movie about gun control.
I know.
Romance and gun control.
And gun control. The two great American things.
Yes.
But I love the way he writes it. But I think because I love that optimism, every time I watch something, and it got to the point where once I loved A Few Good Men because it's incredible. I love this movie because it's incredible. And so I was like, oh, I'm in on Aaron Sorkin, so everything he does, I'm just going to watch it.
Right.
And that wash of just happiness, like what great things can happen if like good people work together. I sort of missed all of the paternalism and misogyny and sexism the first time through.
Well, it's because it's cloaked in like mansplaining usually, and like it's cloaked in this idea of like, aren't women great? Like women can do stuff. Like I hired this woman and look how competent she is. Like that's how it always is. And so like the first time when you're watching it in like 1998, 2001 or whatever, you're like, yeah, women, because not a lot of shows were even doing that. But then you look back and you're like, wait a minute, this is really awkward, the things that are being said.
There's like The West Wing, which I'm sure we'll end up doing an episode on The West Wing as a whole, because it's one of my favorite TV series ever. I rewatch it all the time. It's a really good background thing for me. One of my favorite episodes is called The Crackpots and These Women. These women. God. And
just sit back. Look at these women.
It's still a really good episode. Like really good stuff happens, but you get to the end of it and you have Martin Sheen and every other white guy standing in the residence looking at CJ and everybody else and just saying, I mean, God, can you believe these women? They speak in complete sentences. They can walk without falling down.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's incredible.
And good on us because we employed them. We found them.
and look at Mandy over there. Mandy over there is already convinced the president, but she still wants to convince Toby, as if like convincing one man isn't enough. Like, God bless her for the gusto. Like, and you're like, that's a little sandpapery.
Yeah, and the role of women usually in his writing is to like save men. White men from their own genius, or like somehow prop them up in a way of like catch all their little like geniusy quirks and like soften their edges for them. That's kind of what their whole role is, which is a little bit sleazy.
It's my understanding that you've seen The Newsroom.
I have, and The Newsroom is when I was like, yes, a new Aaron Sorkin show. Cannot wait. I got my popcorns. I got my, oh my God, this is so super sexist. And then I started going back and I'm like, oh God, it always has been. Oh no. And I think I would say it gets worse with time and cocaine addiction.
Yep.
Is he coming on? Is he coming on the pod? Sorry.
Yes, I have my Aaron Sorkin hotline already.
Oh, you know what? I'm unafraid of Aaron Sorkin listening to this. I would say it gets worse with age and cocaine. Except
Probably.
that go back and watch A Few Good Men and then keep in your mind that Demi Moore outranks Tom Cruise.
Yep.
And like try to watch that movie because it's real rough.
Now, as at this time former service person,
I am. I'm between services at
yes.
the moment.
So, as you outranked, I'm sure, many people that you worked with.
I did most. I was very, very important in the military.
As an admiral in the army or whatever it was.
Yep, I had the biggest boat in the army.
I'm sure that when people who were ranked below you talk to you like Tom Cruise talks to Demi Moore, that went over well.
Yeah, I'd just be like, I don't want this guy in my fucking case anymore. Like, no more. him off my case. I don't like, and by case, I mean legal case, not like, he's in my face. Like, I would just be like, he's fired. Like, Tom Cruise in that movie is a new attorney who's only ever pled out. Like, his whole thing is that he does guilty pleas all the time. So this is his first contested case.
He's been a lawyer for 9 months.
Yeah, and he's like, shut up, bitch, I got ideas. Like, I just cannot.
And we're going to do a quick sidebar here on A Few Good Men, Legal Corner with Cole and Aaron. So when I first saw the movie, I wasn't a lawyer. I was like 12.
Yeah, nor I. I was also, well, if you were 12, I was 8. So
and it was like, oh my God, like, this is such a good movie, which it still is a really good movie. But they say, like, you got to hire Kathy over here. I mean, he's the most successful litigator in our office. Successfully plea bargained 44 cases in 9 months. And I'm like, that's just being a lawyer. Yeah. Like, now I know, like, okay, yeah, you pled out 44 cases over the course of almost a year. That's about right. That's probably low for either a public defender or, well, I assume he had to be a defender, obviously.
Everybody, well, they're public defenders, yeah.
Right. So it's like, as a public defender, like, you're pleading out 44 cases? That seems low.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many cases they had in their jurisdiction, but it did seem like he had never done a trial before.
Right. Yeah, it's like, you've been a lawyer for less than a year.
I don't think he'd been a lawyer very long. Yeah, it was very weird that he was brought in as, like, the ringer. Right. And also, for when we do the episode on A Few Good Men with you and me, like, a little bit hashtag Team Jessup. Like, a little bit, like, I'm pro Colonel Jessup.
Wow. Throwing heaters at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, it's a hot take, but...
The hero of A Few Good Men is Colonel Nathan Jessup.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm not, like, full... He did murder a kid. There was a murder. But, like, kind of a little bit Team Jessup, in that I hate Tom Cruise in that movie. And he does need to shut up.
But Tom Cruise is saved a little bit by Lieutenant Weinberg, right?
Yes.
Okay. Also, not the last time we're going to talk about Kevin Pollak today.
Yeah.
So,
also, can you imagine a world? This is the first 2 hours of a 4-hour podcast, and we're not going to talk about the movie.
Right.
Can you imagine a world where Kevin Pollak at that age, which I would say 40, is a lieutenant, which is the beginning of his career? So he decided at 40 he was going to just join the military. He's lieutenant. Don't they have a cutoff for JAG at like 35? You can't join or something like that? I think so. I don't know. I think you need a waiver after 35. Anyway, I just think it's so funny.
Maybe he finally said, I want to serve my country.
Maybe. Right. I don't know. Congratulations to him. Maybe he's a reservist. I don't know. I don't know his life. Okay? All right.
So the thing, though, with Aaron Sorkin and the sexism and the paternalism and all that stuff, and the reason I think that it happens, and I'm not trying to give him an excuse, I'm really curious what you think of this, is he also recycles a lot of storylines and phrases like in this, and it's a phrase that I love and I sort of try to avoid using because I don't want to be considered somebody who plagiarizes all the time, but I love the phrase passing understanding.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons passing understanding, like, that is a beautiful phrase.
Yeah.
And he uses that in, I think, everything he's ever written. But he also uses these storylines that I think he tries to get right. I think he does it once. He's like, it didn't quite work. Mm-hmm. And so he does it again and it didn't quite work. And I mean, you see that just with his 3 TV shows or 4 TV shows. All 4 of his TV shows are behind the scenes shows. Right.
But I also kind of feel like he will do a storyline and then he will think he didn't quite get it right. And then he'll polish it up for the next one and polish it up for the next one. And by the time it's the newsroom, it's a fucking turd. Because it's like, they're like, they're beating you over the head with like, do you get it now? Do you understand what this is? It's like, yeah, I got it. I got it when it was nuanced 15 years ago. I definitely get it now that you're shouting it at me, Aaron.
Right.
So I don't know. I like some of these storylines that he recycles over and over and over again, or concepts or phrases. I like some of them. So sometimes they feel like a warm, cozy blanket that I'm like, I'm in Sorkin land. But some of them just get more and more, I don't know what the right word is, like obvious and in your face as they go along. And I feel like maybe he hit the sweet spot the second time he tried it instead of the 5th. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think particularly he doesn't want to tear down the framework of the original storyline. That may be the actual problem. You know, I still watch everything he does. I watched, like, I liked
Mhm.
Molly's Game a lot. And, you know, he's going to be a director now, too. So I thought he did a decent job with directing Molly's Game. Didn't unearth any new style, but stuck to the basics, and I thought it worked. But anyway, in this, he's still pretty young. And I think, too, that plays to your point of, you know, hasn't reworked or massaged any new things yet because this is his baby. So let's get to the cast real quick. Because a lot of really good bit players. I mean, you've got a couple of stars, which is a ton of really good character actors. You got Michael Douglas as Andrew Shepard. You got Annette Bening as Sidney Ellen Wade. Martin Sheen as AJ McInerney, and Richard Dreyfuss as Bob Rumson. It's kind of there's our star power.
There's only one Bob Rumson in the world, and it's Richard Dreyfuss. Perfectly cast. It's beginning to look a lot.
The way he says,
I love Richard Dreyfuss in this movie.
The president's got a girl.
His big glasses. Yeah.
So, and then you got Michael J. Fox, who like lobbied hard to get in this movie,
and he's perfect in it. He's very good. Yeah.
Every time I see, like, we've done Back to the Future on this, and Jed's like favorite actor of all time is Michael J. Fox. I look back at all this old work that he did. He was so good. Like, he was just a really, really good actor. Mm-hmm. We had Anna Devere Smith as Robin McCall, who's great.
Yes.
David Paymer as Leon Kodak. I miss David Paymer. Like, he needs to come back. Please. Wherever you are, David. We're ready
if you're listening.
Then we got Shauna Waldron as Lucy Shepard and John Mahoney as Leo Solomon.
Yes.
Wendy Malick's in there. Josh Malina's in there.
Some of these people have like 4 lines, but they're hanging out. They're auditioning for future Aaron Sorkin pieces, really.
Like, Josh Malina is in there, and he's a friend of Aaron Sorkin, so I think he probably got this role, maybe a little bit of that. And he's good. Like, he does what he needs to do, but he's kind of a famous actor now.
Yeah, he's a semi-famous actor.
And you're like, in this movie, he's going, gee, Sid, you got a big date tonight? Like, that's what he's there to do. Like, there's nothing...
Yeah.
Guy was on Broadway, and he's brought in... And that's another thing I do like about Aaron Sorkin projects, is he's really sort of strict about who he wants to be in roles. And he gets these really good, like, stage actors, and he always has great people who work with him. And you'll see the Sorkin tree that people who are in A Few Good Men, people who are in American President right at the beginning, show up all over West Wing, all over Newsroom, all over everything he's in. You know, he's just got this core group that he plays from. I mean, I didn't realize until I was watching it last night that Beth Wade, Sydney's sister, is Ellie Bartlett in The West Wing.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Huh.
Yeah. I was looking at her, and I was just like, because I really wanted to talk about her general aesthetic in this film.
It's weird. Slick.
It is a little
wet.
Yeah. The flannels.
Yeah, but like her hair is always like wet. What is that?
I feel like her backstory is she's like an assassin.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then she just comes, she's like, how do I cover this up? A lot of flannel.
Yeah.
A lot of turtlenecks, a lot of salads with Pinot Grigio.
She's very Russian from the neck up, so I kind of understand that.
Yeah. And then you've got Tom Barry, who's the Secret Service agent, who's like, I know who Frank Capra is. You know, he played Congressman Mark Richardson.
I did not make that connection.
In West Wing. Yeah, he's the leader of the Congressional Black Caucus. You obviously have Josh Malina. You got Martin Sheen. You just have a bunch of people that when he falls in love with you, he wants to reuse you. So we're going to get into, though, do you think we should do it now or should we hold off on it? We'll probably hold off on recasting the movie, right?
Yeah, let's recast at the end.
Okay, yeah. We're gonna give you the definitive 2019 cast of the American President reboot.
Yes.
So, any other casting? Oh, I want to give you I forgot about this. So, I read last night, this also fucking blew my mind, was 3 people were supposed to be Andrew Shepard before Michael Douglas.
Oh my God.
First one was Robert Redford.
Whoa. All right, okay.
And he was going to do it, and apparently he had a falling out with Rob Reiner. And I read all of this on the internet, so it's very true.
God, I would pay so much money to see a fight between Robert Redford and Rob Reiner. God.
And he was like, there's not enough romance, there's too much politics. I want more romance.
I mean, that is something Robert Redford would want.
Yep.
More
but
romance.
I also think that's a bad note. But whatever.
I also think they were probably politics that he didn't particularly like. I don't know. Right. We'll see.
Then this was before Aaron Sorkin sort of was brought aboard to develop this idea and flesh out the script, that President Shepard was like a former serviceman special ops guy.
Yeah.
And I read 2 names that were supposed to be Shepard.
Oh my God.
Bruce Willis.
No.
And this one might end the podcast. Your head is going to explode, and I hate to witness that. Steven Seagal.
No! Steven Seagal?
Which that cannot be true. Like, that can't
Jefferson
be
Parish
true.
police officer and known sex trafficker Steven Seagal? Is he coming on? Probably not.
Steven Seagal will not be making an appearance on this podcast. I'm sorry.
Because of how he had those 2 underage Russian women like chained up in his basement in Jefferson Parish, or is that the
yeah,
reason why?
that feels like the moral reason why. Definitely,
They weren't chained up. They were there for willingly, I think, but it was awkward. Anyway, sorry. We'll
Is
talk
that why
about
he
that
got
a different time.
Is that why he got that Russian medal or whatever?
Oh God, did he get a Russian medal?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't hit the Seagal message boards as much as I used to.
Cut this, Jed. We don't want to get sued. Anyways,
I love the idea that we're gonna record this episode and I'm gonna send it to Jed. Like, why don't you cut that up?
isn't that what you do? No? Okay.
So anyway, those were the only sort of casting could-have-beens that I ran into. So any other backstory, how it was made, you want to get into?
Nope.
All right. I'm Andrew Shepard, and I am the president.
Yeah, I'm the president.
What would happen if I called Sydney Wade and asked her to be my date at the state dinner on Thursday evening?
President can't just go out on a date.
I'm having dinner at the White House.
I'm having lunch at the Kremlin.
I don't know what happened. One minute I was calling him a mockery of an environmental leader. The next minute I had a date.
She didn't say anything about me.
Well, no, sir, but I can pass her a note before study hall.
Would you like to dance?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yes, sir. I'd love to.
Never mind that she is the hired gun of an ultra-liberal political action committee. And never mind that his 12-year-old daughter is sleeping down the hall.
Lucy, are you okay with this? My having dinner with a lady?
Dad, it's cool. Just go for it.
Never mind any of that, folks. My name is Bob Rumson, and I'm running for president.
In the past 7 weeks, 59% of the country has begun to question your family values.
This poll doesn't talk about my presidency. This poll talks about my life.
I gotta nip this in the bud. This has catastrophe written all over it. Sydney, the man is the leader of the free world. He's brilliant, he's funny, he's an above-average dancer. Isn't it possible our standards are just a tad high?
Do you think there'll ever be a time when you can stand in a room with me and not think of me as the president?
I am excited to see this movie. Let's go. Let's go watch it.
You would like to pay $3.99 again to rent this movie?
I would. Or $5.99 at Morton Cinema.
Wow. Blast from the past. Little Jay, if you're
eyes
listening, what's up,
just,
brother?
You looked so deeply into the past just now.
I know. It's wow. Okay, so this starts out, I think, really warm, and the score is kind of the first thing that hits me in this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they do a whole intro where they're panning over other presidents, which I felt like is a kind of an odd choice, but I was down for it. It's history, America, presidents, and it's a romance movie, so it's kind of it's panning over a portrait of Eisenhower and all these different there's a George Washington and it's presidents, they fucked. It's very weird to me.
What I would have loved it if they just started from way out and zoomed in on because he got married in office. That sex pot Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, but I
who I just learned a couple days ago, Edith Galt refused his first proposal.
Really? Aww.
Yeah, I'm reading a really boring book, but that came up.
Yeah.
I do love the title sequence though. I love the font. That's just awesome fucking font.
Yeah, and it puts the score in the driver's seat right from the beginning, because you don't care about a portrait of George Washington that you've seen 1,000 times. So you're listening, not watching.
And what I love too is all I was thinking was so is this like about American politics?
Exactly.
I think everybody who listens to the show knows I love a good title sequence that does something, and this is one of those. And we get the appearance of the president, and can I just say that goddamn hair? That is presidential hair.
I liked his hair in this movie.
Oh, his hair is spectacular.
I wrote down my cast list before I watched it last night, and then I had to cross like 4 people off because I'm like, this is the hair. So if you don't have this hair, you cannot do this role. I'm sorry.
I cannot wait to do the casting because it was so hard.
It was
fucking impossible.
very difficult. Anyway, yes, he has outstanding hair.
Yeah, and what I love about the walk and talk, which you can't sort of talk about Sorkin without talking about this, he didn't invent it. Like, it had been done before, the long shot, but he just sort of weaponized it and did it probably the best that I've seen it.
And the fastest.
Oh, and that's the element. Like, that right there is the idea that we can get so much exposition done so quickly, and it feels natural. You know, when he's talking to Janie, Lewis is upset about something he did last night. Okay, so I know Lewis is going to be a high-strung guy. He seems to really care about the people that work in his building, but not so much that it's not believable. Like, she reminds him the name of somebody, and she reminds him of this person's birthday.
And you get all the important things. Like,
yeah,
handguns is the issue. The polls are up. Lewis is annoying. Like, you know all the characters and you know all the issues right off.
Yeah, and we're 2 minutes in, not even.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of movies do a 5-minute scene on each one of those things. You're like, okay, don't need it. Like, we're rolling. And this movie, I think its pacing is probably one of its greatest attributes. Even though it's 2 hours, I mean, they don't rest on anything. And I think what I like about it is there's really 2 storylines going on. You do have the romance, but you do have the politics.
Right.
By not resting on either one too long, I don't think you get bored with it.
Right.
You know, it doesn't get overwrought anyway. But this is the first time I ever heard passing understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand it the first time.
You only had a passing understanding at the beginning, the first time.
That's the greatest thing you've ever said.
That's the greatest thing I've ever said. That's the greatest thing.
That's the greatest thing you've ever said.
Greatest thing I've ever said.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's all downhill from here.
That was a compliment, by the way.
Was
you didn't take it as that way?
But I feel like it was an insult to everything else I've ever said, but that's fine. That's how I'm going to take it. So how you meant it doesn't really matter. Anyway, what were we talking about?
If you guys wanted to know anything about our friendship, there it was.
There it was. That was it.
That was the whole deal.
The last 15 years or whatever.
So we get...
Longer. Oh, God, 18 years.
Yeah, we're getting old. Yeah, it's okay.
We're getting really old.
So what I love was, Janie's in there and she's running the show. We get Mrs. Chapel, which is obviously an early version of Mrs. Landingham, and there's no way to get around the fact that this is a dry run for the West Wing.
Yes.
Like, every inch of it.
100%.
But then we get Robin McCall come in, and she's witty and she's funny. And then she says this.
President, your cousin Judith's come down with the flu and won't be able to join you Thursday night.
Sorry to hear that. Remind me to give her a call later today.
Yes, sir.
You gonna go stag?
It's not a problem.
No, we've never gone wrong parading you around as a lonely widower.
Okay, are you really going to make the lonely widower joke?
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Whoa, that comes out of nowhere.
I just can't possibly imagine that you say that.
No.
And she doesn't even, if you watch it, she doesn't even trip on it until, Janie's like, what the fuck? And she's like, oh my God, sir.
I forgot you were here,
so sorry.
Mr. President.
It was, I mean, I'm talking to you and stuff.
I feel like I could have believed it from another character, but not her.
I did the same way. I feel like this is something Lewis would say.
Maybe. Or even a random dude in the room. I feel like you could have pulled in just a random person that's not a character ever again. And then have everybody you be like, the fuck? Get out of here.
It's one of those lines that I'm glad it got said because, again, that gives you all the information you need to know about his marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't have to deal with a divorce. There's going to be there's going to be maybe an upset ex or whatever.
You don't have a scene of him staring at her picture and we know right. Your wife dies. It's hard. The movie doesn't beat you over the head with it, which is kind of nice.
Right. I just didn't buy that coming from Robin.
No, me neither.
It makes no sense to me that she would say that.
But it's a perfect film, so it is what it is.
Right, exactly. In that flaw, it's flawless.
Yes,
Understood.
yes. Aaron Sorkin, ineffable. So, all right. Then we go over to Sydney, right? We meet Susan.
They have that little meeting in in the Oval where they're like, okay, job number one's a crime bill. We're at 63%. Yes. We meet Leon Kodak.
Yeah.
He's weird stats guy. Okay.
I would have believed that line from Leon Kodak. Like, there's myriad people in the room that could have said that line. Anyway, crime, but also... But
that's where we learned that the crime bill's important. Lewis is pissed off that they're pulling the handguns.
Yeah. Lewis, hero of the movie.
Yeah, big time.
Wants handguns in the crime bill. But that's not
wants there to be some gun control in the gun bill. That's his whole deal.
But that's not going to pass, so they got to pull it. And then also the environmentalists are bringing in some kind of like ringer to like do the fossil fuels bill, and she's a pit bull lobbyist for the environment.
Well, what I love is that they're like, Lewis is all over it, and like, did you see that letter? Jesus Christ, I want to see that letter. Like, they make such a big deal. Like, aside from like, the only thing I can imagine that letter saying is like, Mr. President, from the Office of the Global Defense Council, blah, 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 blah. We strongly urge this because of these reasons. We strongly urge that this bill be with a 20% reduction, because anything less than that is really not doing anything to address the issues that we're facing.
Yeah.
They make it sound like that letter is like, Mr. President, I just want to tell you right now that if you don't put 20%, I'm going to kidnap your daughter. And I'm going to jam fossil fuels up your fucking ass. Like, it is crazy. Did you see that letter? This letter. So offensive. I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I honestly, and then AJ's like, I'm on the phone with these people all the goddamn time. I don't know what they want. And Lewis is like, hey, dipshit, they want 20%. It's really not.
It's pretty simple. They've laid it out. Did you see the letter?
Yeah. I mean, come on. So we sort of get everybody's personality, and I really enjoy that. And like you said, they say, hey, we got this hired gun. And then we cut over to meeting Sydney.
Yes. And maybe more importantly, Susan. What is the deal with Susan? Or maybe...
I'm going to hold up my pad.
What is the deal with Winnie Malik? What's up?
I know you can't read it, but this says, why does Susan have to suck so much?
What is Susan? Like, why? And the thing is, it's not that she's an unbelievable character, because, like, I feel like I know Susan, and so do you. We don't like her, but we do know her out in the world. What is this woman? Like, I don't have any commentary about it that could help illuminate it for the listener. I just want to throw it out there that she's the worst.
What I don't get is this, and I think it plays a little bit to the stereotype of women working hard don't like other women or something like that,
and have to be very severe all the time.
Yeah, and unless Sydney's coming in, it's not like she got fired.
No,
it's like we're gonna this woman doesn't know jack about the environmental lobby. Yeah, well, that's not what I'm hiring her for.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Like, I'm hiring her to gather votes.
Yes.
She's going to be our whip.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
She's never even been on a hike or anything.
Jesus, I'll bet she just spills oil into the Potomac for fun, goddammit. So we get this like unnecessarily angry Susan, but I do like that they introduce the idea of Sydney Ellen Wade and how great she is without having her standing right there.
Yes.
So we then, like, our first time we see her, she's so cute in this movie. She's like the cutest person ever.
Wait, okay, listen. You've skipped two very important scenes.
I'm sorry.
One is Lucy playing the trombone.
Oh, we gotta talk about that.
Plays the trombone. It's very cute. He is like, oh my god, that's beautiful, Lucy. What is that? And she's like, scales. And then he like gives her a book, and he like is gonna make her read it. And she's like, I have to report over it at dinner. And he's like, yeah. It's very, very cute. He's forcing her to read history, and he's a good dad. That's all I have to say.
He's a good dad.
He's a great dad.
You're missing the most important part about that scene.
The end?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where she like can't do a fucking scale, but then as he leaves the room, she's like,
she fucking rips off like a jazz riff of Hail to the Chief.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
Maybe that's the first thing she learned, because she's the president's daughter. Maybe. I don't know.
And it's very cute.
Yeah.
But you're just like, god damn it, Lucy.
This is just there to show you that Andy Shepherd is a good dad. Then we see him with his BFF, AJ, walking around. And I don't remember the whole conversation, but at the end, he's like, hey, AJ, we've been friends for 25 years. When we're not at work, you can call me Andy. And AJ's like, Mr. President, I'm not ever going to call you Andy. So we find out that like his chief of staff and him go way back a long time.
Right.
So later when he says fuck you and throws a pool cue at him, it has a lot of meaning.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Jeez. Now they're just going to turn it off.
From 1995. If they haven't turned it off already, they're not going to. Okay.
That's also true. So I do want to say one other thing about Lucy. This was Shauna Waldron, who had a really great start to her career.
She did.
She was the icebox in one of my favorite movies, Little Giants. Mm-hmm. And you know who her love interest in that was, right?
No.
Devon Sawa.
Wait, Devon Sawa was Little Giants?
Devon Sawa was Little Giants. He was
I don't remember that. I remember the snot bubble kid. Remember him?
Obviously. I think that's his name.
Did you know that he competed in speech and forensics with me? The snot bubble kid from Little Giants.
You have told me this 35 times,
yes.
And every time you tell it to me, I'm like, I still can't believe it.
I haven't told you this in like 10 years. So,
But wasn't there was another kid from like Mighty Ducks, I thought, that was in speech too.
Maybe.
The redheaded kid from Mighty Ducks?
I don't remember. I only remember the snot bubble kid from Little Giants.
Yeah.
Don't know his name, don't care what it is. But
you should have talked to him more. He could have hooked you up with Devon Sawa.
Yeah. I don't think 2019 Devon Sawa is a catch. I'm happy with what I've got. I have a feeling he's on the downhill.
David, I know you're not listening. She's right, by the way. She's right. It was awesome to get to finally meet him, by the way, as a complete quick aside.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. And he's better than Devon Sawa.
He was better than Devon Sawa.
You heard it here first.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So, I just pulled up a picture of 2019 Devon Sawa, and I am doing better.
Yep. Yes, you are. Although, really good Twitter follow.
Yeah, really?
Just as a heads up. Yeah.
Oh,
really good.
I did love Wild America.
So we get established that they're best friends and everything, and then we get to, jumping to, because we were talking about Susan, and as crappy as she is in the office, why is she so shitty when they're at the White House? What the fuck?
She vacillates between being like very severe and then just like very weird and like meek. I don't understand.
And what really confuses me is from like the moment they get there, and I was really glad that I had Jesse watching this with me, because I wouldn't have caught onto this. So they get to the outer gate, right? And I do love that she's like, "Hi, I'm Sydney Ellen Wade. I'm here with a meeting."
Oh my God, he doesn't care. I'm
trying to capture the Capra-esque qualities. And it's like, okay, first of all, these people that are at these gates are Secret Service agents.
Yes.
Okay. Frank Capra, famous guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he doesn't know what Capra means, but you know what he does need to know? He probably needs to know your name.
Yes. Yes.
And he probably needs to, and she's like, I'm here for a meeting with AJ McInerney. He doesn't need to know that. No.
Probably does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably does want to know why you're there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jess is like, because Jess was an intern at the White House, and she was like, okay, so they've got their A badge. There's going to be 2 levels of security they have to go through. Like, you're going to have to tell people why the fuck you're at the White House. Yeah. She's like, this is a fucking Secret Service agent. You're not going to talk to him like that. Like, you're not going to fucking do that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. You don't say,
and
like, she's honestly just a human being. If somebody's like, oh my gosh, it's so Capra-esque. And somebody's like, he doesn't know who Frank Capra is. As if he's A, not there, and B, like, assuming he doesn't know this thing, which he might not. But basically, it's just like, don't say big words. He's stupid, Sydney.
He only works at the front gate to apparently, like, Burger King. Like, what the fuck? The White House is behind him, okay?
Well, and also, this is the only way he exists. He exists here and nowhere else. He has no life, no interests, nothing else. He is this. This is what he is.
What she didn't know is that was Congressman Mark Richardson.
Future Congressman, yeah.
So eat it, Susan.
Also, the only black man in the movie, which is also not a good look.
Yeah, I did notice it. I was going to get to that a little later, but since you brought it up, very white man, like, yes.
But like
really sticks out.
For also Susan to be like, this guy doesn't know who Frank Capra is, and have that be the only black man in the movie is a little awkward. Not a good look for Susan.
It was very much a, do you think he?
Yeah. Come on now. But then
so
he does, and he's a very warm and nice and smart man.
And wonderful person.
Yeah.
Because
and he remembered everything she said. It was very cute.
I will say too that in a lot of Sorkin projects, I think he likes to have everybody, no matter who they are, be intelligent or more intelligent than what a stereotype would make you think that they were.
And when somebody appears stupid in one of his things, they will circle back and prove that they're smart at some point in time.
Right. Or they'll put a really dumb person in a person of power.
Yeah.
And be like, look how ridiculous it is that this fucking person.
But I honestly think even those characters do circle back and become competent at something. Like a surprising thing, or they'll like surprise you with their generosity, or so, like there will be something good at the tail end of every character.
That's fair. So,
all right.
Again, we thought her suckiness would stop at the gate. It does not. It increases. Now,
it becomes weird. It becomes weird and like awkward and meek. And
when they're okay, so let me see if I got this straight.
Yes.
Do you think the purpose of that meeting was to convince AJ McInerney to suggest to the president that he needs to send 455 to the Hill with a 20% reduction?
I feel like this is a trick question, but yes.
No,
I do believe that was the purpose of the meeting.
No, it's not a trick question.
Okay, I'm like, yes, you've very well articulated the purpose of the meeting. Yes.
Okay, no, I promise none of this is a trick.
Okay.
I look at it and I'm like, okay, so Sydney and Susan are like on the same team to accomplish that, right?
You would think so.
So at the table, why is Susan like, this fucking lady hasn't even read the report at the Quebec Conference. She doesn't know shit. This is like, are you kidding me? You're good. This little one right here, you just ignore what the fuck she's saying. All right, like
I kind of thought that my thought of Susan in that scene was that she wanted it to be more of an introductory meeting, and she felt that Sydney was going way too hard, way too fast, and making mistakes and being like, you will do this for us. And so she was trying to back off and be like, hey guys, we're just here to say hey, and like we're not going in guns blazing, which is weird for her because I feel like she's a very guns blazing person in the first two scenes, and then in this one she was like, let's back off here, pump the brakes a little bit, Sydney. I thought that's where she was going, but it's also dumb.
I mean, she's the one who sent the letter to the president saying, I'm going to re-murder your wife.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she's really severe in some points and then really meek in other points. I don't understand.
And then to try and point out that your colleague is dumb.
Re-murder your wife. Yeah, she's the worst.
I feel like, too, like, they clearly did not have, like, a strategy sesh.
No, because she probably refused to speak to her. She's like, I'm not talking to that bitch before the meeting.
Like, I'll meet you at the fucking gate. Okay, if you can find it,
Susan?
moron.
Oh, yeah. I did a good job. All right.
Oh, you casted
Susan? Just had to check back. Yeah. You didn't cast a Susan?
No, I sent you. Well, I can. I will.
I just thought you were like, here are the roles I cast, and then there were 15 names. So I was like, oh, the whole movie. Okay. And then I never looked at it again.
So that's good to know about my text. Is you're like, oh, there's 8 words. I'll read the first 3.
If it's long, I'm going to skim it. That's true of law books. That's true of briefs. That's true.
You are an internationally famous podcast star. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to change your verbiage from your show to my show.
Oh, thank you.
So I know you don't skim shit.
Herbsed it.
There we go.
Which is what we call skimming.
We do have some HBs who listen to the show, and we love all of you. And I just want them to get,
Just know that this text was so long that I herbsed the text. Okay, that's how long the text was. Okay, all right, we've got to move on. We're in the second scene.
Well, it starts to go faster. It really does. The setup of the movie, it goes quickly, but there's so much information in the first 40 minutes.
That is true. So Sydney Ellen Wade is going off on her thing. She does some of the best rants in the history of movies. She's off on her rant. She's going, and she doesn't know, but the president comes in behind her, which is a very West Wing. This is very Sorkin-esque. So the president's behind her, and she calls him the chief executive of Fantasyland, which is pretty much the worst thing you can say about a president.
Hey, and can we hear what he says? Because he delivers this so perfectly.
Yes.
If he honestly thinks that the environmental community is going to whistle a happy tune while rallying support around this pitifully lame mockery of environmental leadership just because he's a nice guy and he's done better than his predecessors, then your boss is the chief executive of Fantasyland.
Let's take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Good morning.
Let's take him out back and beat him up. It's so good.
No, just the way he says beat the shit, I'm like... I feel like Andy Shepherd's been in some fights.
Uh-huh. Which is different and a little bit less... Yeah, yes, I do feel like Andy Shepherd has been in some fights. But, like, when he redoes this scene for The West Wing, the line is, "I am the Lord your God." Which is, again, my point of, like, when he redoes scenes, they just get a little more heavy-handed every time. Sometimes a lot more.
I'm gonna play that right now, too, just so everyone can compare.
Then what's the first commandment?
I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt worship no other God before me.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite scenes at the end of the first episode.
That's the first episode. I am the Lord your God.
That is the first time you see Martin Sheen in The West Wing.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because they walk around and talk about the president for like the first 30 minutes of the first episode and you don't know who he is.
I also dig that in that episode, the people who are on the religious right don't know the commandments. Like that. Okay.
Nah,
they probably know the commandment.
There's
probably
problems.
But anyway.
So he says, "Hey, Sydney, would you mind taking a moment alone with me and going into the Oval Office?" So based on lines later in this movie, where he says that as a lobbyist, she would never be in a room alone with the president, we know that Andy Shepherd is already ready to mac on Sydney.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. And now,
the entire purpose of her going into the Oval Office is to get some.
Yeah. I was thinking about this last night. Obviously, this is a romantic comedy and a political sort of, not thriller, but like a political film. But
thriller, can you imagine?
Well, his wife is getting threatened to be murdered. Like, there's a thriller.
Get out of DuPont Circle. Escape from DuPont.
That's the sequel.
Yeah.
That was the straight-to-video Roadhouse 2 John Sheck sequel to The American President.
Put a pin in that, because I have a problem with their characterization of DuPont Circle as well. Anyway.
But we're going through, and he does this like you said, let's go meet in the Oval Office. I haven't talked a lot about the direction of the movie, because I think it's pretty pedestrian, honestly. I don't think you had to direct much of the movie. It's very beautiful. It's well lit. The Oval Office brings its own magnitude to a scene, so you don't have to do anything to enhance it, things like that. But this is like one of the iconic scenes that he puts together is at the beginning of the movie, they're on the Oval Office and they're on opposite sides of the room. And there's this wide shot of the distance between them that needs to be crossed.
Are you saying this is a metaphor?
No.
Okay,
I would never
keep
say
going.
That.
Yeah, good.
I would never say that.
It's a simile. I'm sorry, keep going.
So I do like that visual. Like, at least, they put some thought into it. There's not a lot hidden there, but it is a nice looking scene, particularly because what's in the background is the Oval Office, the Resolute Desk, things like that. I want to know, though, I mean, this is like a shady fucking thing for him to do.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Like,
but it's also like a power move that I enjoyed.
Oh, I figured this is what I wanted to ask you, because like this felt like something that you were going to be like, yeah, but I'm good with it.
Well, I am good with it. I mean, the sexy president wants you to go into the Oval Office. Actually, I'm going to write down another recommendation for the end here. It's a book.
Is it called The Sexy President Asks You to Go into the Oval Office?
It is a menage between the president, the vice president, and the first lady, and it's very good. I don't know if your listeners are ready. Yeah, he invites her in, but then they pretty much talk business. At least she talks business at him for a long time. It's like, this is why we need our 28%. I should not play Cindy Ellen Wade in the reboot.
No, you did not. Honestly, you did not make my cast list.
This is how I argue in court, too. This is why we need this. But she's like very, very in his face. And then he's kind of like, hey, I was wondering, I'm pretty hungry. You hungry? You want to get a donut or something? Which is it's not like a bend over the desk sort of like, you know what I mean? He's not like, hey, I'm into you. Let's do this. He's like, do you want to get a donut? Which I feel like is pretty soft in terms of, hey, are you interested in me? And she's confused by that and then just keeps talking about fossil fuels. And he does not stop her. So I feel like inviting her into the Oval Office was a power move, but then he did nothing in there to try to push her one way or the other, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think too, like, it's definitely sort of a shady thing to say, bring her in here, but that's also, I think he knows the only room where I can be in that no one else is going to be around. Like, I can't, and I can't take her to the residence. That's insane. But,
yes.
But yeah, and the whole like cute conversation, and this is where I think he he even says it later in the movie, like, I patronized her, she, whatever, she called me on it. And I like that, where he was like, do you understand that this is like the biggest home field advantage? And, let me teach you a little something about how Washington, D.C. was designed. And she's like, okay, like, don't let my stilted beginning, diminish the weight of my message.
Right.
And see, I've got a lot of this memorized. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I also shouldn't play Sidney Ellen Wade in the revival. I like that she's like, no, just fucking listen to me. Like, I'm here for a purpose. And I love that.
Yeah.
I also love that green suit.
And so did he, because it clips back to him and he's like, oh my God, she doesn't want to have donuts with me. She just wants to yell at me.
She looks like this just adorable, intelligent Christmas tree. It's fantastic.
Because she's wearing a green suit and orange lipstick and has the reddest hair you've ever seen in your life. She does look a Christmas tree. But also, like, he really enjoys being yelled at by her, and I also really enjoy that about his character.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Every time she's lighting him up in the entire movie, he's just like, I'm down for this. I get this.
And Annette Bening does such a good job at being extremely flustered and also extremely articulate at the same time, which I thought was very good.
I like that her comfort zone, like her neutral, is being brilliant.
So then she does her whole speech, and she's like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. We need 24. Oh, he cuts her a deal that's like, if you get 24 votes on your fossil fuel bill, I will put the weight of the White House behind it. And she's like, okay, do I have your word on that? And he's like, yeah, I just said it and I'm the president. And she's like, okay, all right. And then like gives another speech, and then she starts to walk out the wrong door. And he's like, you can't do that, Sydney. And she's like, I can do that. And this is why. And he's like, no, because that door goes to the Secret Service will tackle you. It's my private office.
Can we do a quick politics aside?
Yes.
He's like, Sydney, it won't pass at 20%. It's a long shot at 10. At 20%, it's 34 votes shy in the House. Like, they did a whip count at 20% on a bill they were never going to do?
I don't know. Yes, I guess, yeah.
It just made no sense to me that they were like, we're never going to put this bill up. Could we please get a whip count real quick? Just on what that imaginary bill would be.
I was thinking he was like guesstimating, but you're right. It was extremely specific.
That's precise.
Yes.
So anyway, bumped on that. Like there's some politics things in this that I bump on, but that are sort of necessary leaps of faith in order to kind of keep everything going along.
Well, is the deal that she gets 24 and he gets her the other 10?
Yeah, he's like, I will give you 10 and you get 24, which I think is really funny because it's like you're at this point 63%. My guess is you can get 34. My guess is that that's possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, they make this deal. Everybody's thrilled. And then this is the point where we see Sydney at home, right?
Yes. In the worst pajamas, soaking wet. Her hair is so wet. No makeup.
And I think she has a cold.
Yeah, she does have a cold. Hey, listen. Let's do this segment about Annette Bening's hair in this movie.
Love to. I'm ready. Perfect. Epic.
It is the worst hair I've ever seen in a romantic comedy. It is so bad. It is so bad. Sometimes it's spiky. Sometimes it's slicked back. Sometimes it's fluffy in a way that, like, it wasn't even part of the 90s. Like, I do not understand. No one else has ever had this haircut. It is the worst haircut in the history of time. And then when she wants it to be fancy, she folds it over all around her head like a crown. And let me tell you, she is the second woman to make her short hair fancy in that way. Because you know who else does? I'm pausing for you to say.
Oh, I don't know.
Demi Moore and A Few Good Men, and then never again in the history of film.
She does. That's right.
She has the same fucking weird fancy hair when she goes to court-martial. And like, so was this an Aaron Sorkin? Like,
was this his kink?
Was this a stage direction in the script of like, and then they will take all the gel available on set and then fold their hair over all the way around their heads. And that is how you will know that they're dressed up.
I will tell you right now that Sydney Ellen Wade's entire look at the ball is phenomenal. That hair is
entire
perfect.
Look.
The whole look. The back muscles, which were nuts.
Her muscles are nuts. Arm muscles and back muscles.
Yeah. The hair, spectacular. The dress, stunning. Her moves. Yeah, the speaking French for no reason. Like, everything is perfect.
Everything you said in that sentence was true, including her makeup, except for that weird hairstyle. It's very weird. And no one rushed out after this movie and was like, give me the Sydney Ellen Wade. No one.
That's probably true.
All right. Okay. Moving on. So she's at home. She's soaking wet. She's
Yep.
in her pajamas, which are not sexy ones. Her sister, also wet, but will be soaking wet for the whole movie. Wet hair. I don't understand her sister. Sidney Ellen Wade gets a phone call from the President of the United States.
Yes.
And he's like, "Sup, girl? It's me, Andy, from today.
Me, Andy, from today.
Do you want to be my girlfriend?" And she doesn't believe it's him. What's the name that she thinks that it is?
Richard Reynolds.
Richard.
Because she's talking to Richard, and he's like, "You want to hear my Andy Shepherd impression?" She's like, "No, I don't want to hear that. I don't care if it's good."
Yeah. And then he calls back. She believes as Andy Shepherd. And she's like, "Very funny, Richard." And she basically hangs up. And the president's like, no, it's really me. And she's like, "Okay, Richard." What did she say that's embarrassing?
She goes,
I thought I had this movie right.
She's like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you what a nice ass you have." And
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is rough. But also, I feel like pretty good for Andy Shepherd in the moment. It's embarrassing for Sidney, but like...
No,
now he knows that she's into it.
Yeah. And what I love, too, is he's like, it's just so cool on that phone call. He's like, just hang up the phone, call 456-1414, which is the actual number to the White House.
Yes.
She's like, when you get the operator, just tell you want to speak to the president. And that look on her face, perfect. Just perfect.
It's
I
great.
do remember, I did get called from Jess at work one time, and that number came up.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep.
No, go ahead.
When you got called from the White House, did it tell you that it was the White House before it called you?
It said 456-1414, and because I'd seen this movie, I knew it was the White House.
I got a call once from someone inside the White House, and it told me there was a recording on the thing that was like, "You are getting a call from the White House." That was basically like, "Buckle up, bitch. This is the call," which I think is really important. Then people are like, "What up?" or like screen it because they don't know the number or whatever. You know, like, well, I guess you're already on the line when it plays, but I definitely remember that being the thing.
I don't remember the recording. It very well could have been there, but I
It
just
may be
remember
some phone lines and some not.
I just
don't
remembered
know.
looking at my phone and being like, "Holy shit, it's the American president," and then whatever. But yeah, so that whole like exchange is awesome. She accepts going to the ball, and they have a really nice like quick rapport. Like they both have the same sense of humor. They both have whatever. And
but she also accepts going to the ball. He's like, "You want to go on this date with me? It's gonna be dinner, some dancing," and she's like, "Mr. President, it is my honor to accept this invitation to represent our country." And like just gives this whole speech, and he's like, "We're not like doing espionage. It's just gonna be it's dinner. I'm asking you on a date, basically." And she's like, "I am so excited." It's really funny.
They're just. I think you made a good point where I can't necessarily speak to Michael Douglas, but there's a cuteness in Sidney that has to be there. Like it can't be somebody like they can't dress her up to be so beautiful that you just don't buy the romance. And I love the quirkiness and the cuteness and the aw shucksness of both of them.
Right, exactly. We missed where so before he calls her to ask her out on the date, he's playing pool with AJ as BFF and chief of staff. And she had called to talk to AJ after the meeting, and the president is like, "Did she say anything about me?" He's like, "What do you mean? No, she didn't say anything about me." He's like, "She didn't say anything about me?" Like he really thinks he made like an impression, and he's like,
she should have been calling to just talk about me.
Yeah. It's like I could pass her a note after study hall, and they go in this whole conversation about whether or not he should ask her out on a date and whether that's good for polling and like whether it's good for him as a president. And finally, Andrew Shepard's just basically like, "AJ, I like her. Please stop being my chief of staff. You think I should ask her out?" And he's like, you should ask her out. Give her a call. It was a very sweet moment when he's like, "I like her, AJ. Like, can I just, just let me go out on a date?"
It feels genuine, especially when AJ's like,
"Yeah,
we can get you a hooker. If you're looking to get laid, we can."
He's like, "I don't want you to get me a girl, AJ. I'm saying I like her."
I also love the concept of AJ's would be like, "You need a hooker? I got a hooker guy. My son, Charlie, I can just call him. He can get me a girl." And he's like, "That can ensure total anonymity." And I'm
discretion.
Like, "No, you can't.
No, you can't.
You're going to have to kill that hooker. Like, you get that, right?" Like, no, you can't.
Yeah, I did have the thought of like, the president hasn't dated anyone or like brought anyone to a event. But, like, I feel like he's still got to be fucking, right?
According
you can
to him,
cut this.
no.
I don't know if this is appropriate for your podcast. This is all we do on mine. But I still feel like he's definitely got to be, like, kind of like...
I can't
doing some ladies.
Yeah, I get.
No,
the point.
you don't think so?
I don't think so. I really don't, because when they get to the point where they're gonna have sex, he's like, this is going too fast.
I haven't done this in a while. Yeah.
I mean, he's fucking freaked out. So.
He says I haven't done this in a while, but I don't know. He's such a sexy president. Like, I just feel like he's the president and he's sexy. It's never happened before. And
he's moral though. He's also like, I don't
true.
strike him as the type of guy who's like, I just need some side action.
That's true. He does have good character.
Jerk.
Okay. So now they are going to the event. Oh, first it clips to her making calls and Joshua Malina saying big date tonight, and she like knocks over a bunch of pencils.
I love that. I love that like physical comedy. Like knocking that cup over looks so fucking fun. It's great.
Yes. At the event, we meet Bob Rumson for the first time. He's perfect, flawless. Not one issue with Richard Dreyfuss's performance. Bob Rumson, the worst.
Big 95 for Richard Dreyfuss, man. This was Mr. Holland's Opus year. So if you hate him in this and you want to go like him, go watch Mr. Holland's Opus. Sure.
We'll talk about Mr. Holland's Opus later. I feel like that was loud and clear. Maybe not. I don't know. So Lucy ties his tie, and they have a little conversation about her mom and like whether it's okay that he's going to dinner with a lady. It's very cute. But now it's game time.
Yeah, it's on. I kind of wanted him to be like, Luce, your little help with the shoes, I don't need that.
Yeah, I know. He is like the smoothest dude in the history of time. He is so super smooth and sexy. And his daughter's like, compliment our shoes. Girls like that. It's like everything else he does, girls like too. So
yeah, the shoes, sure. I mean, Lucy, how do you know that, Icebox? Okay, you're 12. You're not dating.
You're 12.
You don't know that shit. Was that what your mom said when you grow up? Make sure a guy compliments your shoes. Like, give me a break.
Yeah. So that's the scene, and he walks out of the room. She's crying, very upset. So they meet. They're like introduced like an old timey ballroom where it's like the president of the United States and this lady, and like he has to go do his like president thing, and he leaves her, and he's like, nice shoes, and she's like, and
so Lucy is the reason that he gets some. That's fantastic. Good for her. That's a good daughter.
No. The reason he gets some is the way he says her name in that dish room, but we'll get there. So they're sitting at the table. They're trying to figure out if anyone speaks French to talk to the French people, and Sydney Ellen Wade.
Why do they speak French? What's the
point?
Why
do who speak French? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Because they're sitting there and they're like, the dossiers look bored.
Yeah.
And Shepard's like, hey, you speak French? Does anybody speak French? They speak English. Like, you could just be the president and be like, hey, president, what's up?
What? They don't speak English. They're French.
He responds to them in English. Like, they speak in French, and then the response is like, hey, you didn't dissolve our trade agreements. And then the president is just like, no, we were talking about this.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Nuts.
He's like, because the president's like, yes, we were just explaining to Miss Wade that this happens without a bio leave from the king or queen.
Oh my gosh. In my reboot, you are cast as the French president. Hands down, what an accent. What an accent.
You're welcome, planet Earth.
It's better. It's better than Chris Pine's accent in Princess Diaries 2, I'll tell you that. Let's see. Okay,
so they hit it back in English, so I don't really get the point. Although it is very cute and wonderful, and when he leans back and he's like, "That's my date."
So, the colloquy they have with the French president is basically like, "There's this beautiful room and this beautiful music and a dance floor. Why isn't anybody dancing?" And they said something about like how in France their heads would get chopped off if they danced or whatever. It sounds like a terrible country, to be honest. It's scary.
Without a buy or leave from the king. It was a really good piece of writing.
Yeah. It's France, man. It's terrifying. I'm not going to go there. So I just think it would be really funny if they were talking about modern France. Everybody misunderstood.
I also love that you're like, because when I go places, I got to dance. So if I'm going to get in trouble for dancing.
And I'm not asking fucking permission from any kings. I've got to dance.
What is this? Footloose? Fuck you. The kids won.
And so then Andy Shepard, the smoothest move, so fucking smooth. I forget he goes, I've got a better idea. And then he stands up. He stands all the way up. And then he turns to Sydney Ellen Wade and says, would you like to dance? And then they're going to be the only ones dancing.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. Smooth as fuck. Like, really smooth.
What? I just couldn't stop thinking last night, what if she looked up and was like, I don't really like to dance?
Then it would have been done. You would have been like, well, we tried it.
You'd
but
have been like,
it's
okay,
done.
AJ, you can get me a girl.
Man, and then she gets up and they dance and her back muscles are so good. And like, he's
like,
such a good dancer.
She's like Rambo 2 shredded. Like, it is impressive.
Yeah. And it's a good dance. And then they have those iconic lines about like, how do you do it? There's 200 people in this room and they're always like, who's the president and I don't have this movie memorized. Like, who is this girl? And like, they're all looking at you. And he's like, they're not looking at me. They're looking at you. And like, because you're beautiful or whatever. Oh, no, it's so good.
He doesn't say that. Because I like that he doesn't always reduce his flirting to like, you're hot, you're beautiful, you're sexy.
That's true.
You know, he's like, look, the 200 pairs of eyes are not focused on me, they're focused on you. And the answers are Sydney Ellen Wade.
Sydney Ellen Wade. And because she said yes. Oh, my heart. Oh, I love it.
And
he's
as
so fucking smooth.
And like a 12-year-old Cole was like, I'm going to start taking some notes right now.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'll get taller. Maybe one day I'll be taller. I don't know.
You did get taller, but did you incorporate these moves into your game?
No. I can't be. Do you think I could be Andrew Shepard?
I don't remember you ever dancing with any women. I don't think this happened. I'm glad you took those notes, though. It's good.
I did take the notes. It was more like become president.
Oh, so you never got over that first hurdle of becoming the leader of the free world. Interesting. Okay. So then
we're kind of on. After this, we're like on the fast track.
Yeah, we are.
She gets to work. I'm sorry. The next morning, he tries to order flowers. God damn. Every scene in this movie is so good.
So good. He tries to order flowers. First, he just wants the number of a florist, and Janie can't figure that out. She's just like, what are we trying to do here? What's happening? I'll call a florist. And he's like, no, I just want the number. And she's like, why? Because why, though? And then he's going to call that florist. And like Lewis is in there for some reason. And Michael J. Fox just does such a good job of just being like an annoying turd for like the first 45 minutes of this movie. And then he becomes the hero of the movie.
Oh, he wins the movie.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox wins this movie.
It's like annoying, a level of integrity we could never imagine. And then the end.
Right. And then makes fun of people for not knowing how to spell erudite. We're good to go.
Fair. I'm probably one of those people. So he's like, who we calling, sir?
And I also love like how quick he was with like, we're calling the United Organization of the Brotherhood of None of Your Damn Business.
Yeah, it's like then Lewis kind of
I'll be with you in a moment.
Away. Yeah. So he tries very hard to order flowers. He wants to order dogwoods because they're the state flower of Virginia. He asked Miss Landingham, whose name is not that yet, but will be, what that is. Then he finds out it's a tree. The florist believes he's being intentionally difficult. Then he reveals that he's the president, and they hang up on him.
But here's the thing: like, has he ever ordered flowers before? Ever?
What, like as a person?
Yeah, because I know the type of flowers you can order. Like, you can order roses, and don't ever order a carnation out there. That's ridiculous.
But maybe his
lilies,
murdered wife Mary, maybe her state flower was a normal one. You know, maybe her state flower was tulips or whatever.
But like the concept that like, oh, no one's ever heard of this flower. You probably. And then when she's like, oh no, the dogwood's actually a flower. I want 2 dozen. Dude, if she had dogwoods, when you said dogwood, she'd have been like, I have those.
Right.
I will put some together for you.
Yeah. Maybe he's just used to being the president at this point. He's like, why isn't it happening?
That's probably true. Although I also love how everybody in the office is like, oh yeah, no, the dogwood is a state flower. No, the dogwood's a tree. It's a tree and a flower. Everybody knows shit about dogwoods. I don't get that.
I feel like once you get to a certain level of status in life, you just assume things are going to happen. One time I stayed at a really, really, really fancy hotel and I ordered French fries be delivered to my room. And they asked me what kind of ketchup I wanted. And I said, what kinds do you have? And they said, we will get whatever brand you need. I was like, I only know Heinz and catsup. So I better come up with something real fancy real fast here.
Were you trying to think of that like Aldi brand? I would have tried to come up with the most obscure.
Just like, oh God, if I say Heinz, they're going to think I'm a loser and I shouldn't be here.
I want the I want the ketchup, and you'll know it on the label because there's no vowels in it. So that's...
I told them to make it fresh. I was like, better get some tomatoes and some salt. No, I didn't do that. I was just like, whatever is the...
I'll have the chef's recommendation.
Yeah, top shelf, whatever is up there. Okay, so then we get Leo, Sydney Ellen Wade's boss, confronting her the next morning about how she's on the cover of the newspaper with her date with the president, looking really good in that shot from the newspaper. Yeah. Really good stuff.
Yeah. She looks great, and that just makes John Mahoney look even dumber with that belt buckle.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't imagine a lot of people who are running the Global Defense Council strutting in with like a dinner plate belt buckle.
It's weird because you'll point out things that I'm like, I didn't notice that, but then when I go back in the Rolodex of like, I can jump to the scene and I know what you're talking about now, but I didn't really notice it in the moment. Yes, it's an insane belt buckle. He says such wonderful quotations as, "Did you sleep with him? And I hired a pit bull, not a prom queen." And something about being the next tabloid joke with an egg timer or something. He's not wrong, but he's pretty wrong, if that makes sense.
He's right, but he's doing it wrong.
He's right, but he should not be saying it out loud. Yeah. These are things we think but don't say, Leo.
You can make the point of like, look, I need you for a reputation. Mm-hmm. It's important to me that you don't look too close. Because I think we do at some point have to have the conflict of interest conversation.
Do we? Because we're at like an hour and 32 minutes in. I don't know that we have time. There is one. I mean, some things that Bob Rumson says are valid. The fact that she is the lobbyist for a very liberal organization that has a lot of power and a huge bill that could compromise and change drastically the president's agenda. Yeah. And she's got his ear all the time. Like, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's that struck me last night is like, I fucking hate Bob Rumson. Like, I hate him. Yeah. But this is not just a perception problem. No. This is a problem in reality. Yes. This is, and I think that's, and we'll probably talk about that when we talk about the 2019 version, but this is problematic. Not just like the concept of him dating, but like, there's issues here.
Mm-hmm. And they both want to pretend there's not issues, because the next scene is the president, like his staff's in the room and they're like, how are we going to handle this Sydney thing? The Sydney issue. And the president gets super mad and is like, this is my personal life. This has nothing to do with my public persona. And that may be true if Sydney Ellen Wade is a waitress, but it isn't true if she's a lobbyist. It just isn't.
And this is, this storyline gets recycled a little bit with Sam and the call girl in season 1 of West Wing. Yeah. Where this, like, these really, really smart people decide, well, no, this shouldn't be an issue, so it's not. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that's a little too naive to just assume because you don't want it to be an issue that it's not an issue.
Right. Also, Leo, great name. Use that again.
That's a good, I'm glad you brought that up because Sorkin comes up with some great names. AJ McInerney. Yeah. Andrew Shepard is
That's a really good name.
That's the coolest person that's ever lived.
Mm-hmm. So Sydney Ellen Wade shows up and says, I can't see you anymore. And I need to tell you the reasons why, because my boss doesn't want me seeing you. And there are some serious concerns here I want to talk about. And she gets conned into coming over for meatloaf later, basically. Mm-hmm. He's like, just come over for the meatloaf. How this is not a bit, it's just meatloaf. It's not a threat.
And he's just so fucking cool because even when she's like,
so fucking charming.
He's like, well, he doesn't want us to explore a social scenario. Yeah, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound that great to me.
Yeah, he's so cool. So charming. So then she arrives for meatloaf. He pretends to be on the phone with the dentist, but he's really on the phone with Israel or something.
Yes.
They have CSTAD.
What is that vest they put Lucy in, by the way? Kids wear actual clothes. That's ridiculous.
She's the president's daughter. She's either wearing that vest or a light blue crushed velvet slip dress, which we'll get to later. That's from My Date with the President's Daughter. Yeah. There's also a pink one. It's the same dress twice.
We are going to have a Will Friedle corner. Don't worry.
Will Friedle Corner should be the name of your podcast, and you should change the entire content and structure.
You talk about the 4 movies he was in?
Yeah,
Awesome.
over and over. So yeah, is this the dish room? Oh, first we clip to Rumson saying that he wants to run a character campaign now because they couldn't the first time because the president was a widower and he couldn't touch it. But now, what does the president have?
President's got a girlfriend.
That's right, Bob. You're correct.
He's got a girlfriend. Then we get the scene in the dish room where the president takes Sidney Ellen Wade
on the ride of her life.
God. And she's like, did you see the flatware in this room? And he's like, no, because I'm looking at you. And you're sexy as hell. This is not the dialogue in this scene. But he keeps trying to, like, say her name real sexy. And, like, he keeps trying to, like, lean in. Yeah. There's a moment where she's talking about flatware. And he's like, Sidney. It's very good. And
Michael Douglas has a phenomenal voice.
He does. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Before I watched this movie last night, I sent you a text that said Michael Douglas was sexy in Romancing the Stone and Never Again. And that was not true. He was also very sexy in the dish room. So finally he says, do you think there's ever going to be a time where you can be in a room with me and not think of me as the president of the United States? And she's like, no matter what room I'm ever in with you, I will still be a lobbyist and you will still be the president. And he's like, Sidney, as a lobbyist, you would never be in the room alone with the president. And then they smooch hard, and it's awesome. Very hot and sexy. And then, guess what happens? Libya bombs C-Step. So,
I mean, talk about...
a boner killer?
Yep.
There you go, yeah. So he has to leave to go murder some people, and it sucks.
I know.
It sucks.
I know. Well, he has to go. He leaves to create an episode of The West Wing called Proportional Response.
Yes.
So they have this discussion.
And he says the same line that the president says in The West Wing about proportional response. It's the same line.
Why fuck with a good thing?
I guess. But also, do you want to discuss the upsides and benefits to a proportional response? Because, like, we can. It's not.
I know it.
A dumb.
It doesn't seem to be a hard concept.
Anyway,
what I love is that this movie continues to give you the romance, but like throw me back into the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that ping pong, and I think it's the major strength of the movie because you're like, oh shit, other stuff is going on, and I think that continues to make the audience think, is this like a good thing or a bad thing that he's dating? Like, is it wrong morally? Is it just wrong because, I mean, should he be dating? Like, it's interesting questions are brought up just by having these like, oh, you guys wanted to make out for a bit. I get it. But the Libyans just killed some people. So,
yeah. So then they do, if you want to see the scene, you can also see it in The West Wing. They go bomb Libya, the janitors. Yep. They knock out some janitors. And then the next thing is a press conference he's doing about the bomb he just sent off. That I was in the military 4 weeks ago. Like, I don't understand. Like, the bomb that just happened, and everybody's asking about Sidney. And, like, somebody, like, straight up is like, did you do her? Did you get it in? And he's like, people have died. Let's keep our eyes on the ball, which is accurate. That was not...
spectacular response.
Yes, that's not an appropriate question right now. You should not be asked back to the White House press corps.
Right. Read the room, bro.
Yeah.
What are you
He
doing?
already answered your question. Yes, I was having dinner with Sidney Ellen Wade when this happened. That's a whole article, man. So, like, just tone it down a little bit. Anyway,
so
they
go off of that, and, you know, we're starting to see that this is going to be starting causing some problems.
Yes.
You know, we now have people are on it, that these two are dating. At this point, I think we're moving towards he wants like a serious relationship with her.
Yes.
She is still like, fuck, I can't do that.
She's home with her sister. She's saying, I can't do this anymore. He had to leave the dinner to bomb Libya. Like, this is not a sustainable situation. And it's career suicide for him. This should not be happening. And the sister's like, maybe raise your standards, because he's like a super hot president. And like, he calls on the phone and she's like, I'm not answering because it's him. And she's like, you're answering the phone. He's a super hot president. Like, what are your standards? Which I think is kind of funny, because her sister's probably not involved in politics at all.
She's just assassinating people.
Yes. Well, yeah. In one way, she is about politics, in that she does carry out the assassinations for the Russian underground. However,
I love that he's just like continues to pursue her in what I think is a very sweet way with all of this shit going on around him.
Yes. Yes. So she comes over and she's like, again, trying to break up with him because she says, I don't want you to pursue me outside the political arena. And he says, well, I have no intention of pursuing you inside the political arena. So that leaves nothing. And that's unacceptable to me. And he says that her problem is sex and nervousness.
Yep.
Because
I don't really get it.
He's the president of the United States and she's probably nervous to have sex with him because she's concerned that he's all powerful.
I also love that he's come up with a sex plan.
Yeah. So she has to go freshen up. So she comes into this room being like, we are breaking up. This is not a sustainable situation. Then he says that she has a problem with being nervous to have sex with him. And this reverse psychology works hard. He basically dares her to do sex on him. And she's like, I will do it now. 5 minutes ago we were breaking up. And now that you called me a chicken, now we're going to have sex. So she goes to the bathroom to freshen up. And he's like, when you come back, I will outline the plan I have for us. And she's like, go ahead. I'm listening. And it's a slow down plan.
It is a slow
where
down
they
plan.
will go step by step toward sex. And then she comes back.
And when she's comfortable, that's when it'll happen. I'm like, yes, that is how all sex plans
Yeah, that's how all sex works. What was your alternative?
Your
Andy?
plan was consent.
/ Aaron Sorkin. So she comes back wearing his shirt, which is apparently the sexiest thing ever. I don't understand you, man.
Hold on. I do have a note.
Oh, God.
White dress shirt, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
What is it? What is it about you, men? I don't understand it.
I can't really explain it, but it's a thing, and it's awesome, and it should always happen.
Okay. All right. Period.
It's no, she comes out, and it's like she's like the sexiest person on earth at that moment. Like it's
from the hair
perfect.
down, yes. From the hair down, it's working. And he says, maybe I didn't explain correctly the slowdown plan. And she's like, no, you explained it great. And he's like, okay, well, now I'm very nervous. And my nervousness exists on several levels. The first of which is I haven't done this for a while. The second is any misconceptions you might have about me being. And then she cuts in and she goes, the most powerful man in the world. And he's like, yes, that's what
yeah,
that is.
That's,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she cuts him off.
That comes
and then
with
she
the
says,
office.
Yeah. He's like, that's not a personal distinction. It has nothing to do with sex. It comes with the office. And then she says his name's sexy. She's like, Andy. And then they smooch hard. Mm-hmm. And then we assume that it leads to sex because she's still there in the morning, putting on her boots, trying to leave before the press gets there. Ha 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 ha.
Well,
Sydney.
Did you notice though when she puts on the shirt and she comes out, she's like, I'm gonna fucking rock your world right now. Like that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And she puts her hand on the bed and gives it like a press.
Oh, yeah. I happen to know that's your favorite part of this movie. We've discussed it before.
So
she tests the bed out a little bit.
She tests the bed.
For bounce.
What, are you afraid you're going to break it?
No, she needs to know how much bounce there is. If the memory foam is too soft, it's a problem.
Okay. It was very funny to me that she came out and she was just
she wants to make sure there's enough bounce.
Need to
I
figure out.
don't see this as weird.
So they apparently have like the greatest sex on earth to the point that Lewis needs to come on and check on them.
But wait, I do want to say this. When they start making out and you know that they're going to smash, it is overlaid with the audio of Bob Rumson screaming about family values.
Yep. It's great.
Do we want family values back in the White House? Yeah. Do we want... I don't know the rest of it. But I thought that was very good direction or writing. I don't know who came up with that.
It is.
Very good.
Yeah. And what I said earlier about Rob Reiner's sort of pedestrian directing was just that there's not a ton that you had to do with this material.
That's kind of his style. Like, what's great about Rob Reiner is he picks incredibly really good things, like really good talent, scripts all over, and just lets it breathe.
Yeah.
Like, that's his talent as a director, is letting the writing and the acting go.
Yeah, it's very sort of a Clint Eastwoodian way of making movies where they're like, just let the actors do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we then get to Bob Rumson screaming, and we finally, I think that's the first time we hear, I'm Bob Rumson, and I'm running for president.
I'm running for president. Yeah. I also like that when Lewis comes in the morning, Sidney Ellen Wade tries to fake like it was a meeting and is like, thank you for going over those fossil fuel numbers with me, Mr. President. I'm like, Sidney, that's not gonna work. Okay. This is Lewis. He knows everything. He probably had a camera in the room, okay?
He was sleeping under the bed.
Yes.
He just poked his head out like, we got a problem, sir.
Yeah. So they have to sneak her out. Then we just kind of like have a montage of like things aren't going well for the president. Polls are dropping. The crime bill's not going well.
I love the montage. I totally love it. I'm a little confused by the politics of Sydney able to get votes based on this promise that, hey, if we get 24, the next 10 come with the White House. White House is losing power, can't get votes for the crime bill. And I feel like a lot of the reps that she's talking to would be like, look,
would know that.
Yeah, would be aware that we've now dropped, 20 something points in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So I do like that this montage sort of just jumps us so forward that we get to the third act. It's now time to kind of start concluding. And this is where kind of all the tension comes in with, she comes in from a bad meeting on DuPont Circle because she can never figure out how to get.
Oh my God. She cannot. She cannot with the DuPont.
And on Christmas,
it's a
DuPont
fucking
Circle on Christmas?
It's a regular, I don't know what your DC living was like, because you lived in town, right?
I lived in Tinleytown, so I lived over by American. But I've been to DuPont Circle a bunch.
Yeah, here's the thing. Neither of us lived super close to DuPont Circle, but I had a friend who lived in DuPont, so I was there a fair amount. It's not a difficult driving
It's a large
area.
Traffic circle, but it's
Yeah,
not
but you don't get stuck in
difficult. No.
I've never known anyone to ever get stuck in a traffic circle. That's the virtue of a traffic circle. It just keeps going around and around. I don't know. Chevy Chase and European Vacation, period. And that's it. Those are the only times. And Sidney Ellen Wade, I guess. I don't understand. You don't have like crazy traffic in a traffic circle. That's the whole point of it. I don't get it.
She had just got off of a meeting with Sorley, McCluskey, and Shane, which again, great names.
Yeah, great names. The Motown 3. Maybe. I don't know, but it happens again. So I don't know. But, okay, also she's got an FBI file because one time she burned a flag for the ACLU. Bob Rumson loves this so much.
In protest of the apartheid.
Oh, was it apartheid?
She was protesting apartheid. And I'm sorry, I think we did skip very quickly.
A thing that was pretty bad. A lot of people protested.
And it's one of my favorite quotes in the book. And we're skipping a couple of things, but you just continue to get this, like, Bob Rumson's on the hunt.
Yes.
And then he saves a strike from happening with the airlines, and he's like, "Hey, let's go to Camp David."
Yeah.
And
it's my favorite line when Bob Robson sees the picture of her burning a flag 20 years ago and says, "It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas." And then they're in the car going to stop the airline strike, and Lewis says to the president, "They've got a picture of Sidney Ellen Wade burning a flag," and the president goes, "Today?" Like, he's just so good. He's like, when she went out and burned a flag today? I just saw her. Like, Jesus.
And it's raining. It would be almost impossible.
Yeah, I just thought the line was great.
Well, and I love the whole car scene, and that's one of the reasons it takes so long to get through this movie is like they're short.
Every scene is great.
Everything's great, and you're sitting in the car, and when he figures out, it's like, oh, it was 13 years ago in protest of apartheid. He's like, wait a minute. Somebody I didn't know 13 years ago when I wasn't president participated in a protest where no laws were being broken in protest of something that was so bad that it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what was the fourth story on the news?
That was verbatim the quote.
He
goes into the florist. They pass the florist that he calls. He goes and like shames that florist, and she's like, "Girl, Kiki, it was at the basketball game." And then he's like, "I need service," and she's like, "I will be right with you." And then she passes out. Good stuff.
Again, I did find it problematic though that the two African American characters.
Yeah, it's like Kiki. It was at the basketball game.
Yeah, that's a rough watch. But they get there and they're talking. They're at Camp David, and this is where she says, "I love you." Like, I know it, but I should probably go away. And he's like, "Nah." And this is after Bob Rumson calls her a whore on television.
Yeah, he's basically like, when you hear one thing, you ignore it. When you hear two things, when you hear three things. So basically that she's like slept with all of Congress to get her lobbying points.
And he's just like, look, I can't get into this character debate. And that's what this whole movie is about, is like, should we engage in a character debate? Should we not? I can't do it. I've got one election left. And he's like, I'm sorry. I get that all your friends are hearing this, but I can't challenge this guy just because he makes fun of my girlfriend. And what I love is that he's like trying to explain to her, like, this is why I can't do this. You might not understand. And she's like, look, I'm not asking you to. Like, that is, you are misconstruing everything that I'm telling you. And that's the part of, I think, that probably goes away in certain aspects of the West Wing or the newsroom or whatever, that is still sort of in place here is that he gets immediately called on I don't need you to explain this to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not hearing me.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that aspect of the relationship. And then he's like, look, you could go wherever you want, but I'm going to find you.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be very romantic, but it's actually a little bit creepy.
But it was the second time it was creepy because, like, at the beginning of the movie where she's like, I don't have a phone. How'd you get this number? He's like, I don't know, probably the FBI.
Yeah.
I'll find you. Like, I don't care where you are. I'll find you.
So this all culminates in the scene with Lewis being, well, the first scene where he's a hero. And it's basically like she said something to the president about these Motown 3, that basically the only thing they hate worse than her bill or his bill is her bill. So that by killing her bill, they could buy these 3 guys for the crime bill, if that makes sense to anybody what I just said. So basically they can fuck her over and pass their crime bill. And they've come to the point where they need to fuck Sidney over and pass the crime bill and kill the fossil fuel bill. And the president's mad, and he's like, she deserves every opportunity to pass this. This is a good bill, and she deserves it to pass. And Lewis is like, she, Mr. President? You do mean it, don't you? You do mean that this piece of legislation deserves every opportunity. And, like, he loses his shit.
That's the last time I think of him as an asshole, because I remember every time that happens, I think, God, he's going to be a jerk again. And then he launches into this, like, cogent defense of American constitutionalism.
Right. But he's basically like, we've been saying nothing. Bob Rumson's the only one they're listening to because he's the only one that is talking. And people want leadership. And when they don't get it, they will go to they will basically listen to Bob Rumson because there's no one else to listen to.
Right.
And if there's not water, they'll drink sand. And then the president says the smartest thing ever.
Lewis, we have had presidents who were beloved, who couldn't find a coherent sentence with 2 hands and a flashlight. People don't drink the sand because they're thirsty. They drink the sand because they don't know the difference.
2019.
How many times in this movie did you go like, God damn it.
Damn it.
God damn it.
Aaron Sorkin was a prophet, and it's true.
Yeah, it's so fucking true. It hurts.
Yeah. So then we clip
I do like in that scene, though, real quick before we move on, I love in that scene where AJ, like, snaps at him and is like, no, the president doesn't answer to you. And he's like, no, he does.
He
I'm
does
a
answer
citizen.
to me. I'm an American citizen. Oh, God. And, like, the wrong actor in that role would have been such a doofus. But Michael J. Fox can pull off being, that's right, Jed, here I am on your podcast talking about your actor. Actually, I was going to say something nice about Michael J. Fox. Maybe I should say something mean, make him more angry. But what I was going to say is he can pull off being like just an annoying little like bleh for the first like half of this movie, and then come in with some of the most credible. This speech was just so good. It was so believable. It was so honest, and then you realize that Lewis is the best one in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we then move on. They make the deal, and Sydney's not happy.
No. She gets the news. They're having a celebration party for passing their bill because they got all their votes. And then she gets called in and fired because they didn't actually get her votes. And it's because she's fucking the president.
Yeah. Now we go to the White House, and now it's what Lewis has said, even though the president, I think, sort of shut him down at the end of that conversation. And that was sort of a get out of here moment. Obviously, it stuck with him. And we go to the president's bedroom, and he gets lit up by Sydney because she's looking for a sweater, and she's basically like, you fucked me. Like, this is what happened.
I got screwed.
Yeah. And then he does the most, like, pandering thing ever. Which is like, nothing happened to you.
The environment got screwed.
Like, well, she got fired and stuff.
Yeah, she got fired because of you. Because of something she shared with you in confidence.
Yeah, you know you're wrong. And I think that that's another hallmark that's probably correctly written in a lot of Sorkin strips where men are extraordinarily defensive and like to say, like, no. Very technically, if you're listening to me, you probably don't understand this, but nothing happened to you. And then sit back and go, the heroes sort of try and come around to...
I will say that the 2 lines that are like her big lines in the scene both make no sense. First one is slamming the drawer and saying, fuck the sweater, she'll have to live with disappointment. Is she talking about the sweater or her sister who wants the sweater back? I can't figure that out because I think she's talking about the sweater. And like, why would the sweater be disappointed that it gets to live at the White House now? Why is she personifying the sweater?
And what I bumped on that too, and I was like, there needs to be a scene in there if you want to have that line, which is a perfectly fine line, and I feel like He wrote the lines like, I'm going to use this no matter what. This scene would be terrible and should be cut from the movie, but like, we need to have a scene that's like, I need that sweater.
Right.
That sweater means everything in the world to me. Like, I have to have it. You borrowed it. I need it back. Because there's no context for this fucking explosion.
Yeah, it's very weird that she delivers it great. And then at the end, when she's walking out and he says, you know, that he doesn't want to lose her over this. And she's like, you've got bigger problems than losing me, Mr. President. You just lost my vote. It's like, you're going to vote for Bob Rumson, Sydney?
Right.
He literally called you a whore on television. He's done some really terrible stuff, and you disagree with all of his politics. I don't think you're going to vote for Bob. But, you know, I understand what she means, but, like, she's lying.
But it all works.
She's lying. It's a bluff.
It all works.
Yep.
And what I love about it is it inspires the greatest political speech in American history.
Yes. First, I want to say this. He has the argument with AJ where he throws the pool cue at him after this.
Yeah.
He says, like, how's the view from the cheap seats? That is a great scene between him and Martin Sheen. Very, very good.
It is.
Like, incredible.
And I'm sorry I skipped it.
No, I know we're going long, but I just want to say it's really good. And also, Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's such a great scene. Like, there's
It's
so
really
many
good.
great little fucking scenes. Like, it's impossible to believe at the end of the movie, like, every scene should have a 10-minute discussion.
Sorry.
Like,
but he says to AJ, has he lied? Has Bob Rumson lied?
I know.
I did this. I did that. I am soft on this. I am. She did come to the White House. She did sleep over. What? It's like he said on TV that she slept with the whole Virginia legislature. Andy. Yeah. He fucking lied.
Yeah, he's lied. He's lied.
A lot.
Yep. I have that down.
Okay. Anyway.
Every time he says that, I'm like, yeah, dipshit.
Yeah.
A lot.
All right.
A big one.
But now we're at the best speech in American film.
Yes. And this is where Sorkin shines, and this is what he works towards. And he loves having these large monologues, because even if Newsroom to me got better as it went on, but like that speech in the pilot is fantastic. It's so clear that Paddy Chayefsky is the hero of Aaron Sorkin, that he's like, I'm going to write a network speech in everything I do.
Yep.
So he just kind of comes out, and I love that there's no setup for it. Nobody knows he's doing it. And they do the voiceover of Robin, like answering questions at the press gaggle. And then like, is the president ever going to answer questions about being a member of the ACLU?
Yes, he is.
And then we just launch right into it. Which
I want to say that the apartheid protest had something to do with the ACLU. Like, there was something.
Yeah, you're
she
right.
was affiliated with the ACLU in a way that Bob Rumson was pissed off about. So I think that's why everybody's asking about his affiliation with the ACLU, or she used to lobby for them or something.
Yeah, I forgot that.
But that's how the idea for this podcast came up. Is my husband said something. He asked me if I was a member of the ACLU. And I said, yeah, I'm a card-carrying member of the ACLU. The question is, why aren't you, Bob? It is an organization. And
tell me you told him the whole thing.
I went through the whole ACLU part that is,
Right.
defending the amendments. Anyway.
This is the whole organization. Defend the Constitution.
Yeah. And he has never seen the film. And
No.
was very, very confused.
He's like, you have a seemingly very well prepared response to my question.
He did, yeah. And he's like, I'm not Bob. He did walk in last night while I was watching this, and he's like, what's this, West Wing or something? And I was like, no, this is the American president. And he's like, it's the same guy from the West Wing, and he's the president. I'm like, no, but it's not that way. He was very confused that this movie existed independently of the West Wing.
It's really not. It's just a prequel.
No, yeah, it is. Anyway, yeah, it's great. Are you going to play it?
America isn't easy. America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad, because it's going to put up a fight. It's going to say, you want free speech? Let's see you acknowledge a man whose words make your blood boil, who's standing center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours. You want to claim this land as the land of the free? Then the symbol of your country cannot just be a flag. The symbol also has to be one of its citizens exercising his right to burn that flag in protest. Now show me that. Defend that. Celebrate that in your classrooms. Then you can stand up and sing about the land of the free. I've known Bob Rumson for years, and I've been operating under the assumption that the reason Bob devotes so much time and energy to shouting at the rain was that he simply didn't get it. Well, I was wrong. Bob's problem isn't that he doesn't get it. Bob's problem is that he can't sell it. We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them. And whatever your particular problem is, I promise you, Bob Rumson is not the least bit interested in solving it. He is interested in two things, and two things only: making you afraid of it and telling you who's to blame for it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you win elections. You gather a group of middle-aged, middle-class, middle-income voters who remember with longing an easier time, and you talk to them about family and American values and character. And you wave an old photo of the president's girlfriend, and you scream about patriotism. You tell them she's to blame for their lot in life. And you go on television, and you call her a whore. Sidney Ellen Wade has done nothing to you, Bob. She has done nothing but put herself through school, represent the interest of public school teachers, and lobby for the safety of our natural resources. You want a character to debate, Bob? You better stick with me, because Sidney Ellen Wade is way out of your league. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people. And if you want to talk about character, Bob, you better come at me with more than a burning flag and a membership card. If you want to talk about character and American values, fine. Just tell me where and when, and I'll show up. This is a time for serious people, Bob, and your 15 minutes are up. My name is Andrew Shepard, and I am the president.
So good. It's so good.
I had it on a CD. Like I remember like
Yeah.
ripping it off of Mozilla
Yeah.
and putting it on a CD.
I think I have it too. Or I did at one point. Yeah. You go on television.
It's just great writing. It's great performance.
It's so good. Yeah.
You want somebody to debate Bob? You better stick with me. And which I love is like Ted Cruz tried to crib that in 2016.
Come
And
on.
like,
We've all seen it, Ted.
Pump the brakes, Ted.
We're going to get the guns.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a president saying we're going to get the guns? Well, actually, President Trump did say we're going to get the guns at one point and then had to go back and be like, I didn't mean we're going to get the guns. I meant something different.
No.
Yeah.
We're going to get the Nerf guns.
guns.
We're going to get the Nerf guns. We're going to replace the
Yes.
Nerf guns with guns is what I said. I promise. But no, it's just so fantastic. And again, it's so optimistic. And then at the end when he's like, I'm sending White House Resolution 455. Okay, well, it's going to need to come from one of the bodies of government.
We're getting rid of it.
Legislates, but sure, whatever. I love that, like, this speech is just, I said it last night. Like, I was mouthing it with the movie. And then we get to the final scene where Sydney's come back to the White House and she's like, my car just kind of steered its way over here. And then they just, I do have a problem that they sort of end this romantic climax with lies to each other.
I didn't send 455 to the floor to get you back, and I didn't come back because you sent 455 to the floor. Yes, you did. And yes, you did. And it's super romantic, and just stick with it. It's fine.
Yep. There's no need to be like, Sydney, had you never come back, I wouldn't have regretted it. Dude, if she didn't come back, you would have pulled that shit and put 10% in there in a heartbeat.
He would have found her, like he promised. He would have tracked her down.
So we get that, and then he finally gets to give her roses at the
garden.
end. You think all the romance is gone, and he's got a rose garden, and then he delivers what I can only assume is the greatest State of the Union that Lewis rewrote in 35 minutes.
Yeah, because Lewis is fucking smart. He's like a wonderkind.
Yeah.
He's 45,
Yeah.
but they keep calling him
he's
kid throughout the
fantastic.
entire movie. I guess because he's short. I don't know.
It's a George Stephanopoulos problem. It's okay.
All right, you want to cast it?
Guys, that was The American President, and now we're going to improve on it by telling you who is in the 2019 reboot of The American President.
Yeah.
So why don't you fire off with Andrew Shepard?
It's a very difficult role to cast because it has to be 35. But you could cast a 60-year-old actor in this role if you wanted to, because he doesn't have to be hot. You don't need to want to see these people bang. You know, it's just gotta. This character has to have an obscene amount of charisma and credibility. Has to be able to be extremely powerful, fill a room, deliver that final speech with some level of believability that this is the most powerful man in the world, but also has to be vulnerable enough to be like, "Aw, shucks," about sex and kind of be a little bit goofy. And self-deprecating and not really have his footing in the realm of romance. So you can't cast some a I don't know, a Chris Maloney, Jason Statham. You can't these people that are powerful because it's it's the president. Bruce Willis, you were saying. You can't cast a Bruce Willis type.
There needs to be a nerdy version.
Yes.
There needs to be there needs to have some goofballiness to it. charm is what you have to have. Like, you can have somebody who may not be physically attractive, and I have some people on my list that I'm worried are too attractive, but I think could be really interesting.
Well, before I watched the movie last night, I had some names on my list that I was like, this could be a good, credible person, like a Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And then I watched the movie, and then I was like, Paul Rudd can't give that speech, though.
Nope.
Paul Rudd doesn't have a passionate bone in his body.
No. There needs to be somebody who has humor, but is not humorous, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
I was thinking, like, maybe an Eric Bana could do it. No, he can't.
No.
So I wrote down 2 men that I am personally in love with, and I don't know if they are good to be cast in the movie. It's just that I personally would like to see them say the words. And those 2 men, I'm so worried that you're going to make fun of me. It's so hard to cast.
Of course I'm going to make fun of you. Come on.
Oh, God, I know. That's the problem. Mark Ruffalo.
They knew!
Listen, I'm not going to say the other one. You tell me, who's your Andy Shepherd? Who's your great... No. Andy Shepherd is so good. I gave you one. You give me one.
I have 5.
5?
I actually have 7, but 2 don't work because they're about 5 years too old. 5 to 6 years too old.
I think Mark Ruffalo would do a great job. If you put that hair on him, I think he'd be great.
I love Mark Ruffalo, by the way.
Yeah.
I just watched 13 Going on 30 the other day, just cuz.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll trade you one, and these are in no particular order, although the 2 that I think would actually be pretty good, but they're just a little, I think, aged out of it, are my boys, Kevin Costner and Russell Crowe.
I had people like that for Russell Crowe. 2019 cannot play this role. I'm sorry. The end.
He's gonna have to drop some weight.
KC could do it, but I skewed younger because I feel like if you make this movie with a Kevin Costner or like that range of actors, you're still making a 90s movie somehow. You know what I mean? Like it's not new.
I totally agree with you, and it's also like they 10 years ago you could probably make it with them. It's just we're in a different place now. It's a different aesthetic, and I don't think you can go with them. But I do have my first choice is Oscar Isaac.
I have Oscar Isaac.
No shit.
He's my last one. Do you see him?
Is that no shit?
Yeah.
Wow. How about yes, you do.
Yeah.
And you have far better handwriting than me.
Yep.
So who's your second one? Because we need to pick who it really should be.
You're gonna laugh at me so hard, but the problem is I'm just so in love with this person that I can't see straight. Bill Hader. Just think about it, though.
on my list for somebody else.
Just think about it, though.
I know.
I think you'd do a great job.
Hader is written on my pad right here.
Yes.
But it's for somebody else who I think he's going to be way better for.
Fair.
So the 5 that I have, and we should just pick out of the ones you have and the ones I have, but I had Oscar Isaac. I had Sterling K. Brown.
Sterling K. Brown came up in my thought process, but I am not attracted to him at all. So I can't do it personally. I understand that people are, but I'm not.
I have Kyle Chandler.
Oh, that's an interesting choice.
And then I have Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Really? Yeah?
Mm-hmm. And then here's the one that I think is like, I kind of want to see this movie, but I'm afraid he's too attractive. Benjamin Bratt. Because he's got charm in spades.
Well, maybe you could go with a less attractive Benjamin Bratt. Because I was thinking about Pedro Pascal for a little bit. And then I was like, no, I can't do Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I don't think. See, he's got too much. Like
he's too leathery.
He looks like he's scheming all the time.
Yeah. There were a few people that I was like, no, they look too like. I was thinking about like Walton Goggins. I was like that are just too like schemy.
Yeah,
but I think
there's no room for Walton Goggins in.
If you did the hair on him though. I think the hair is so part of it,
and I love him. I love that guy.
Well, but I was trying to think of people that could do everything because they kind of would have to for this role. You have to do everything.
And the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, there's really not a Michael Douglas type of person.
No, there isn't
right now. You know, Matt Damon kind of came across, but I'm like, nah, not. I mean, kinda, but I don't think so. And Clooney's too old. I think Clooney's the obvious choice 10 years ago, but he's too old. So I think since we both had Oscar Isaac, we probably.
I don't know. He's like a tertiary one for me. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Part. Yeah. I don't know. I cast Bill Hader. All right, let's cast Sydney.
I would go with Kyle Chandler probably out of my 5, but
yeah. I think that's a good pick. I didn't think of that.
I had one. I mean, I have 5 written down here.
Really?
But I have one. There's the one, and then a bunch of people who can say that they auditioned for it and were thought about it.
All right, I can't wait.
The runners-up are Kristen Wiig.
Well, you can't cast her with Bill Hader, but yeah.
Right.
She'd have to...
Well, it's okay.
That's the thing, you have to, like, have chemistry. Like, Kristen Wiig and Oscar Isaac should never make out. Like, that's not... No.
I have Frida Pinto.
Okay.
I have America Ferrera, who I think could be really good in that. And I have Laura Prepon.
I actually thought about Laura Prepon, but I think she's a little bit too... I don't think she has the giddiness that would be essential to the role.
But there's only one, in my eyes, who plays this role, and it's Viola Davis.
Viola Davis?
Viola Davis.
Really?
Only this was the easiest one for me to be like, this is my Sydney Ellen Wade.
How old is she?
I don't care. I don't give a shit how old she is.
She doesn't work with any of your Andrew Shepherds. Could you imagine her with any of those Andrew Shepherds?
Yes.
Which ones? All?
I could imagine her with Benjamin Bratt, Kyle Chandler, and Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
But yeah, I would rather pick an Andrew Shepard that's not even on my list for Viola Davis as Sydney Ellen Wade.
Yeah. I had
because you have to have a strength and a giddiness and all that stuff that's a hard,
and you can't be like too hot. Like you don't want like a blind, you don't want like a model.
Right.
I know who Aaron Sorkin would cast in this role, and that is Olivia Munn.
Yes. She did not make my list.
I was thinking about women that can be like very bubbly and like awkward and flustered, but also very like articulate and Pitbull-esque, and that's kind of what you need.
Right. I was thinking like Emily Mortimer, but she was already in the newsroom, and I was trying not to pick people he'd already had.
Yeah. I don't know. I had a long list. Katie Holmes was on my list. Yvonne Strahovski from
Chuck.
Yep, from I was gonna go with Handmaid's Tale, but she's like very powerful in Handmaid's Tale and was like the two roles. I feel like she could handle that.
I like her a lot.
You know what? My Sydney Ellen Wade, I think would be Gina Rodriguez, but she's way too young. But like, just imagine it. Just put her in there.
There were a lot in that 25 to 30 range that I'm like, you would be good, but like I even think America Ferrera, although she's I think like my age, is a little too young.
I think Gina Rodriguez is our age as well. I was thinking Kristen Bell might be fun.
I love her in The Good Place, but yeah, that's a.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
Kristen Bell's so whatever to me.
But I think she'd be good. Olivia Wilde was on my list. Alison Brie was on my list.
Alison Brie, I gave some thought to.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard.
I also think it's interesting if you want to do a 2019 one and not do the exact same movie. And it really, I think, changes the entire dynamic of the relationship is to flip the two.
Mm-hmm. And that movie is Long Shot.
I have on here, Long Shot is the rated R remake of The American President.
Yes.
But, okay, so out of those, I'm sorry, I'm saying Viola Davis.
All right, that's fine.
So, Chief of Staff, AJ McInerney. Who you got? I had two names.
Oh, God, just hit me. I feel like I just failed. So just tell me yours.
There's
Bill
no
Hader.
Here. No, I have Josh Charles.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's who would be cast in this role.
And who I want to be cast in this role is Laurie Metcalf.
Oh, that would be very good.
I think she'd be incredible. That she's my number one.
I don't know. I had two kind of like beta males. I had John Krasinski, Jason Segel.
Yeah, I like both of those.
Bill Hader doesn't get the lead role. I think he would be good.
Who do you have for Bob Rumson?
I think there's only one person that can play Bob Rumson in 2019, and his name is Bradley Whitford.
You have a Bradley Whitford
and I said I would get back to Mr. Holland's Opus, and you showed me the trailer for Bradley Whitford's terrible new show where he conducts a small-town choir. Yep. And boy, are there notes of Mr. Holland's Opus in his conducting style, and I just think there's no... And that's who Aaron Sorkin would lobby to be cast in this role.
I don't hate that.
Can't you see him going... beginning to look a lot like Chris. You can see it, right?
I did not have him, but I had Michael Keaton and Sam Elliott.
And also Richard Dreyfuss still alive. Could still
Senator Rumson.
Still
God
play the
damn it,
role.
I'm running for president still.
Yep.
So, all right, let's go to Lewis.
I have Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jesse Eisenberg.
Okay, I like both of those. I have Bill Hader.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for him?
The smartest guy in the room, but sort of not underappreciated, but sort of unassuming.
That's the problem. I appreciate him so much.
Oh, I love Bill Hader, but I thought he'd be good in this. I also have Michael Pena, and I thought Henry Golding would be good.
Oh yeah.
Did you do Lucy?
I did not.
I just have Jacob Tremblay because he's the kid and everything, or any of the Stranger Things kids. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of movies with kids in them, so. Sorry, I was hoping for you on that one.
Sorry.
I'm sure Shauna Waldron can come back. She doesn't seem to be super busy. So
Yeah.
Who do you got next?
Leo?
Yep, okay.
I have Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's better than anything I have. I don't want to tell you.
Honestly, in some version of this movie, I think Bob Odenkirk could play Andy Shepherd.
Yeah, and like a worse, less romantic.
I think he just has a lot of like charisma, and like if you,
it's
don't
hard
know.
for me to
There
listen
are
to
some
you
times
focus on the hair and then say, I think Bob
Yeah.
Odenkirk.
You gotta put the hair
really
on him.
do this.
You just gotta put it on him.
I had Kevin Pollak, and
Mhm.
I had like a very little trying to make a bit of a comeback Ed Norton.
Ugh, Ed
I
Norton.
know. So, did you do Leon?
No.
Okay, I had 2 for Leon.
I did Susan.
Okay, perfect. We'll take your Susan. We'll take my Leon.
All right.
Haley Joel Osment is Leon.
Bearded Haley Joel Osment.
Yep.
Fresh off of Tusk. Haley Joel Osment. Ready for his comeback.
Hey, he's on The Boys.
June Diane Raphael plays Susan.
Yes.
And plays it exactly the same.
I love that. I love that.
Perfect.
Oh, she's perfect. Because of The Long Shot. She's Susan in The Long Shot.
Yeah, but she's Susan in everything. She's Susan in Frankie and Grace. She's Susan in life.
She's Susan in Year One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Because also Wendy Malick, still around, could probably do the same thing.
Yeah, she could probably do
And
it.
then the last one I have is Robin. Did you have anybody for Robin?
No.
I had Gwendolyn Christie.
I should have. Oh, yeah, that would be good.
And basically just...
Does need a tall person.
Just because you
can't-
got to have Too Tall McCall. You got to have that line in there. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So I think, we gave you guys a lot of names. I guess you can make up whatever cast you want, but I think this movie could be remade. I'd watch it.
I do too. I just do not know who would be in it. It was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard. And I spent, believe it or not, guys, I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and those were my
So did
picks.
we were texting back and forth. We were like, this is getting out of control with the amount of names that I'm
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I think we're in
Yes.
hour 6 of this.
Yep.
Recommendations for the folks out there.
My Date with the President's Daughter is a
Probably going to need Disney Plus for that, because I don't think that exists anywhere else.
Oh, you can find that on YouTube. I am certain of it. It's just, it's just a light romp. It's so good. No, but it is hilarious. I don't know. What do you have?
I have Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Have you ever seen it?
Yes.
Oh, I love that movie. For Michael Douglas, check out Black Rain. Really
Mhm.
interesting Ridley Scott movie. I like it a lot.
Romancing the Stone, the only time he was sexy before this.
If you need an Annette Bening fix, check out The Grifters. She's phenomenal in that. That's also just a really good movie all the way around. And for Aaron Sorkin, he hasn't written, it feels like he's written a million things, but he really hasn't.
It's actually not a lot.
But the one that doesn't get mentioned that I think is really underrated is Charlie Wilson's War.
Oh my God, now we have to talk about Sports
Nope,
Night, huh?
Charlie Wilson's War.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna have a Sports Night episode.
Yeah, I like Charlie Wilson's War.
When you
Oh, good. Can I be on it? Because I've seen it.
Not that I'm aware of.
Sorry, guys. We have a long-going, decades-long fight about whether or not I actually watched Sports Night or told Cole that I did and didn't watch it.
But anything else?
You want to know about this presidential erotica book? It is called...
This is so perfect.
It's 3 books, American King, American Prince, and American Queen by Sierra Simone. It is a menage between the president, the vice president, and the first lady. Very good stuff.
Hey, I love it. I'm gonna check it out. So,
Yeah. You
anything
should.
else on American President?
No, I think we're
All
good.
right, well, hey.
We've talked about it for like 2.5 hours, so I think that should be enough.
Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you so much.
You bet. Do you want to plug anything? Plug the podcast?
Oh, yeah. I host with my friend Melody the Heaving Bosoms podcast for those of you who are interested in romance and romance books and just listening to 2 girls laugh for like 2 hours straight once a week. Is that a good plug? Does that make it sound good? Yeah, probably not. Anyway.
And they can find you on the...
Cole's on it sometimes.
They can find you on the Twitter and everything?
Yeah, we're heaving_bosoms on Twitter. We're Heaving Bosoms on Instagram. We've got a fan club on Facebook called the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. Where else? I don't know. We're all on. We're on all the... We're the only thing called Heaving Bosoms.
Yeah, if you search that, you'll probably get them and some other probably interesting stuff. So, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for listening. You can find us at SigBurnsPod on Twitter and Instagram. Obviously, you can email us at cigaretteburnspodcast@yahoo.com. thank you again for all the rating and reviewing. We're told that people that continue to do that, it helps with pushing us up lists or stuff. I don't know. I guess I believe that. But if you want to go rate and review, we'd love it. If you leave us a movie, we'll review it on the air. And thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.